Microphone check. Happy Monday, good Monday, whatever it is. Is today a holiday? For some reason, my daughter doesn't have school today. I haven't figured that out yet. But if you're celebrating a holiday, I don't know. In Mormonism, we didn't really celebrate all the normal Christian holidays. So I don't know if today's a holiday. If it is, happy whatever day it is to each and every one of you. I missed you terribly this whole weekend. And it's still Easter Monday. Yeah, well, I don't know what it is. For some reason, she doesn't have school today. I was unaware that was happening. So that's part of why I got here late. But full disclosure, I was just reading an article, and then I looked at my phone, and it was 9:30 on the dot, and I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be starting. I didn't even have a message from Jen. I just realized I haven't heard from Jen since last. What was that? Was that Friday or Saturday? I don't remember what day that was. Saturday. Jen and I haven't talked since Saturday. That's got to be some sort of record. Let me hop in the group chat with her. She must have had a great weekend if she didn't have to hang out with me. I will tell you that the last thing Jen and I talked about, though, is she just brought up that the two guests we had last week were mutual friends of each other. And I said, after those appearances, they fucked each other so passionately after that. And she said if they didn't, they definitely watched each other beat off because they're weirdos. So that's the last thing Jen and I said before we celebrated Easter and the Lord rising again. So there you go. Jen was pouring. I saw that. I talked to conservative Linz this morning for anybody who's aware of that drama that's going on. And I just told her, good for you. I said, we don't agree on much, but I appreciate, I applaud what you're doing. I respect the way that you're handling this and pouring some very, very hot tea. If you missed it, head to our Discord. It's in tea time. I didn't know what was going on. My mom texted me about it and was like, what's going on? And then I saw that Jen had posted some videos. She hung out with you Saturday night, Danny? That's great. That sounds like a pretty good Saturday night. Hope you guys had a good...
on the tea?
What's that?
Your mom's up on the tea?
No, I don't think she knew what it was. I think she saw a message that she told me she saw a message that said, I must feel vindicated, which for the record, I don't. I don't think anybody on, at least that you and I talked to, I don't think any of us are surprised. And full disclosure, I guess we can say this now. You and I have known about this for a while. When we were preparing for the debate with Linz, she actually told us all this stuff. It just hadn't really come out publicly.
This before. I mean, people tell me things for some weird reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't repeat information, but yeah.
Yeah, so I've known about it for a while. I think they were waiting to, I don't know, did they tell us not to talk about it? I can't even remember. I just didn't talk about it because I couldn't remember if we were supposed to.
Yeah, your memory is shit, so you probably just didn't remember.
How was your Easter?
I mean, Zombie Jesus Day?
Zombie Jesus Day, yeah. Whatever you want to call it.
It was fine. It was Easter.
What's it? Does your daughter still? Do you do a basket still?
Yeah, I do baskets. She's 11, so what's funny is she's at the age where I think she doesn't believe, but she doesn't want to say she doesn't believe. So she does this. It's funny. So she sent me. She has an iPad, so she texted me one day on the iPad with this picture of this stuffed animal. She's like, "How do I tell the Easter Bunny I want this for Easter?" And I go and look, because there was a link to Amazon. And I go and look, and I couldn't have got it in time. I'm like, I don't know if the Easter Bunny will be able to get it here in time. So it's like, I know that you know that we know that, but she doesn't want to say it yet. So.
All right. Well,
yeah, she got an Easter basket. She's gotten older. She doesn't really like chocolate exactly, but she likes sour stuff. So she got like sour stuff in her Easter basket, and she's very much a very girly girl. She's got like a skincare fridge and a routine.
Yeah.
Right. She clearly got that for me. So she got what's her one of the Sabrina Carpenter. She got a Sabrina Carpenter
I don't know who
perfume.
that
She's
is.
got
Who is
so
Sabrina
much
Carpenter?
perfume.
Who is that? Do I need to worry about that person?
I mean, I think you probably got a couple more years, but at
Okay.
some point, yeah, you'll have to pay attention. But I mean, we're getting old, and so we won't know. You won't know for sure because you don't remember shit. So.
Good. We did
But
some llama thing. My daughter watches some llama thing on YouTube. And so she's had a bit like her pet animal or her stuffed animal that is a llama. So she's obsessed with llamas. So it was like a llama day for us.
a llama day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Spawn's got tons of stuffed animals. She likes why my brain's not working today.
There you go.
It's some of the stuffed animals that have I can't remember. It's not important. Anyways, she loves these certain kinds that are really big right now. She's got so many of them. It's like she has no space. So we did the egg hunt. She got an Easter basket. That's about it.
All right. Well, did you get an Easter basket?
No.
Do you and Chris FaceTime or anything?
You're so
I know
stupid.
that long distance relationship's tough. It's not easy to deal with.
I don't do relationships because I don't like people. We've been over this.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, welcome back. Thanks, Jen.
Well, since I'm here, if you guys, I'll do this now. So, as you guys can see, we've got our gift goal. It's Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards helping knock out this gift goal. I don't see too many trolls in here yet, so I'll be here, I'm sure shortly. I'm gonna just quit speaking today. It's not working for me. Anyways, so this is our job, as you guys know, and I think you guys are hear that. Chris, I'm going to mute you. You're so dumb. You're all so dumb.
You guys are dumb. All of you. You shouldn't be bringing this up, guys.
All of you. Anyways, then we'll catch up PayPal Super Chats. This is our job. We need help hitting that goal each day so we can keep this going. If you haven't subscribed to us on Twitch, please do so. And you use your Amazon Prime sub, please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't. Turn on your notifications. And also like the stream. And then also check out our link tree for our other links. A pirate lost his hand and replaced it with a cheap metal prosthetic.
Oh, damn.
So now other pirates call him Crafton Hook.
Crafton Hook?
Crafton Hook. The cheap metal prosthetic.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Jen.
It wasn't a great one. I know. I have to update my jokes. I'm short on good quality jokes right now. So.
Well, thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right, Jen. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. Yesterday, 420 falling on Easter is dangerous, especially if you have a kid who doesn't want to share their candy. So I had a dangerous day yesterday, but I'm just gonna brag. I went to pick up my prescription from the dispensary, and I happened to be the 420th customer. So I got basically what I spent. I got that in credits for the next time I go. And then I was like, you know what I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get a new water bubbler. I don't know what words we're allowed to use, but a new water bubbler. So I stopped by the shop to pick up a new water bubbler, and the shop owner said, he said, are you good at darts? I said, no, I'm terrible at darts. And he said, well, we play darts, and if you hit, your discount is whatever you land. And the middle, bullseye, one throw. I get 3 throws, first throw, bullseye, half off. So I had a great day. And second throw, almost missed the board. Third throw, bounced off the board. So I got my discount. I got some store credit, and it was a good day. I had a good day, but not everybody had a good day. Some people had a really, really bad weekend. Let's start first with the Trump administration, who now have been forced to admit that I don't even know if they made a mistake. I think this is a lie. I think their bluff was called, and they're doing a lot of extra legal things, and this is what happened yesterday. So Harvard, if you remember from last week, the Trump administration said, we're going to cut your funding because you won't do what we say. The university announced on Monday that they weren't going to adhere to the letter, and the letter, which was sent by Health and Human Services Sean Cavaney, turns out they're saying now it was an accident. So it's unclear what prompted the letter to be sent last Friday. Its content was authentic, the three people that went on record said, but there were differing accounts inside the administration of how it had been mishandled. Some people at the White House believed it had been sent prematurely, little premature emailification. That wouldn't be surprising coming out of this White House. Those three people requested anonymity as they were not authorized to speak publicly about internal discussions because Trump has that rule where like nobody's allowed to talk to the press except for the people he says. But Harvard, after they publicly repudiated the demands, sent a letter back to the Trump administration. And now they just say the Trump administration says, oh, it was an accident. And then they make this claim. Senior White House officials said it was malpractice on the side of Harvard's lawyers not to pick up the phone and call the members of the anti-Semitism task force who they had been talking to for weeks. Instead, Harvard went on a victimhood campaign. So the White House fucked up. Harvard responds in public, and now the White House is saying they should have known. They should have known that this was an accident. They should have known that our administration would never do something like send out a letter demanding that you do what we say or we'll pull your funding. So that was a good start to the weekend. Let's see. All right. Thanks, Jen. I see those. Let me pop over. Where did my outline go? There we go. Then... Is this the one? Is this it? Yeah, all right. So here's an explanation. This is the New York Times reporter Honing explaining the details as given to him by Harvard over the weekend. He's talking to Caitlin Collins, who is persona non grata in the White House now. She keeps asking tough questions, so the conservatives don't like Caitlin Collins very much.
Okay, so the White House's position is it was malpractice by Harvard to not realize that this letter was so outrageous. It probably wasn't true. I mean, that letter came from. I mean, I think that statement actually just sort of gives away the whole game. Essentially, the argument that we're hearing there from May Mailman at the White House is they should have known. They should have known there was something wrong. They should have picked up the phone and said to us at the White House, hey, guys, this looks like a mistake. I think it's pretty obvious where the fault lies, though.
I mean, Ellie, could you imagine if Harvard had responded to this letter by saying, okay, we'll meet these demands, and actually that they had been sent in error to them?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Look, this is serious stuff. I mean, this is a major showdown that is escalating by the day. If Harvard had acquiesced to these demands, I mean, it would have changed the institution and compromised the institution forever. But I'm interested to see now what happens next. Now, does the White House withdraw this, or do they sort of decide, whoops, we're pot committed now, and we're going to have this fight through to the end?
Imagine if Harvard had just like capitulated. Do you think that the Trump administration would be doing this? Oh, you know what? Our bad. Never mind. You should reverse that, Harvard. Of course not. The one thing I think the through line that we're going to catch today is there are two faults that I have with this administration. The first is that they are entirely corrupt. But the second, and maybe beneficially to us, is that they're also incompetent. And so they fuck up every single day. This is Trump used to brag when he was first elected. He kept going around saying this is the most talented, most brilliant administration ever assembled. That doesn't look to be true. In fact, it looks to be the opposite of that. Being said, getting some love in here before the trolls arrive. Happy Monday. Johnny Longtrail, thanks for the super chat. Nothing about balls today, Johnny? I hope you still have yours. Love you, buddy. And Swish said, hi, Double Daddy. Eastern Orthodox Church holiday today. So maybe that's what I think my child's preschool is like Lutheran or Methodist or something. I don't know. So they must follow the Eastern European, or not Eastern European. Is that what it is? Yeah, Eastern Orthodox Church holiday schedule as well. I'm not sure. Here's Caroline Levitt. She's putting Caitlin Collins in her place. So the lighting's a little different than normal. Here's Caroline Levitt. I appreciate her new cross. Very Easter themed. And she's going to put Caitlin Collins in her place for talking so much.
President Trump would like me to welcome you to today's Easter press briefing, and we are keeping it just that brief. Just to remind you of the reason for the season, Easter is about celebrating a hero who was betrayed persecuted, and then rose again. Does that remind you of anyone, Caitlin? Or do you not have a religion? It's President Donald J. Trump who rose from the ashes and became the president that we needed. Again, the person that's going to lead us into the golden age of America. And we're proud, and you should be grateful that you are witnessing this time in human history and that you're a part of the new golden age of America. Sure.
Does the president have any thoughts on the protests that happened yesterday?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking the Washington Post.
She nails how she says Washington Post. I want her just to, every night I want to go to sleep her saying Washington Post.
Yes, the liberals are apparently rebranding walking by calling it protesting. What, do you not have enough things to do? You don't have a hobby anymore? What happened to you guys doing like disc golf or something like that? I don't know what liberals do besides color their hair and own coffee shops. But no, they were out there commemorating the shot.
That's been a weird thing about like, I think they test these lines. The weird thing coming out of this administration is constantly every single person calling all Democrats blue-haired baristas. I think that's weird. Shout out Alina if you're out there. Shout out Alina for your blue hair.
Heard around the world, which is rich for people who want to get rid of the Second Amendment. And also, in the same breath, they're out there fighting for a man they know nothing about, who is a violent, hardened gang member, Albrego Bad Bunny. Do you know what Albrego Benito said when he got arrested? He said, Titi me pregunto. Do you know what that means in Spanish? That means my aunt asked me to... Sure.
Does the White House feel differently about the Pope's
I'm pretty sure that means I have a question.
since he dissed JD?
No, absolutely. No, we are not going to be talking about the Pope. I will not get ahead of the Vice President. He was snubbed by the Pope. It was extremely disrespectful. Frankly, it was insulting that we got passed off to the assistant to the Pope, which is essentially the Dwight Schrute. When we asked to talk to Michael Scott, we need to talk to Michael Scott. And I will not get ahead of the Vice President, but thank you for asking. Caitlin, no.
Caitlin.
Peter, go.
Is the president going to follow the Supreme Court orders?
Okay, no, Peter, you're talking about the Supreme coup, not the Supreme Court. These people are against the American government, and they're trying to take us down from the inside. It is absolutely horrific. It's kind of like when Joe Biden was trying to take us from the inside by allowing all of those hardened gang members into the United States. Do you know that Joe Biden is actually part of the Illuminati with Barack Hussein Obama, Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Tayo Cruz? You might not know this, but Tayo Cruz, who wrote the song Dynamite, is actually a war criminal too.
Who the hell's Tayo Cruz? Why don't I know who Tayo Cruz is? Dynamite? Do I know that song? Tayo Cruz. Dynamite? Where's that song go? How's that song go? All right, well, do I know that song? Hands, cause it goes on. I didn't know that's what that song was called. Okay, there we go. Tayo Cruz.
You know that? He wrote a song that says, I throw my hands up in the air sometimes, saying, Ayo, gotta let go. And that releases a megahertz that hypnotizes. It hypnotizes the people at the border, and then they think that they're celebrating and living their life while they're letting people across.
You guys all tell me you knew that's who that was. You all knew that was Tayo Cruz. I don't ever know who sings any songs. Sorry about that.
The border, over and back, trafficking people. Anyway, happy Easter, everyone, and I hope that we don't have to declassify anything else like B613.
Johnny says squares. Thanks, Johnny. We're switching shapes now. Austin Sophia says, hey, Jay, just chipping in for the Dollar Train. We'll leave soon for an awesome concert, but I will miss your voice. We'll catch the replay. We'll miss you desperately. I hope you enjoy your concert. Pink says, what's white and sticky and goes 1,000 miles an hour? Come on. What's white and sticky and goes 1,000 miles an hour? The coming of the Lord. That's not appropriate for our Christian friends here. How dare you? So the Pope snubbed JD Vance. You might have had her. I used that just so we could introduce the topics today. The Pope has snubbed JD Vance, or did snub JD Vance. Pope Francis didn't attend the Vatican's official meeting with JD Vance on Saturday, instead having his number 2 deliver a lecture on compassion, which JD definitely needs. It called for serene collaboration between the White House and the Catholic Church in the United States, a seeming hint to the tensions that have brewed between the two since Trump took office. A statement from Vance's office about the meeting, however, did not include migration among the topics of conversation. He just left it out. Instead, it said the two discussed the plight of persecuted Christian communities around the world, as well as Trump's commitment to restoring world peace as he's bombing the Middle East. And these poor Christians, my goodness, the plight of persecuted Christian communities around the world. These poor Christians. Only bad things are happening to Christians. Nothing is happening to anybody else or at the hand of Christians. I saw somebody in here brought up, I hadn't seen it, there were 70 Christians that were brutally murdered in, I don't even remember what country it was in. And this idea that like if Christians die, then it's violence against Christians. If we're going to do a scoreboard and we're going to talk about lives lost due to religion, Christianity's doing pretty well. They're top seed in the tournament. Pope Francis has repeatedly rebuked the president's mass deportation effort, calling it a disgrace and a grave sin. The pontiff has also specifically confronted Vance, who's the highest-ranking Catholic in the U.S. government, who, by the way, converted in 2019. Converting to Catholicism is wild to me as an adult. As somebody who converted people to Mormonism, and I recognize now the absurdity of becoming an adult and converting to Mormonism, converting to Catholicism is tough because the history of Catholicism is very public, and being able to overcome all the abuse and the murder to convert to Catholicism, you kind of have to. I think that I hate to say this. I'm sorry if we have Catholic friends. If you're converting at an older age in America after all you've heard, you might not really care that much about innocent people. Without mentioning the VP by name, the Pope corrected a Catholic concept Vance had invoked to defend the administration's deportations, Ordo Amoris, which is Order of Love. In a February letter, Francis pointedly explained, Christian love is not a concentric expansion of interests that little by little extend to other persons and groups. Vance acknowledged the Pope's criticism, calling himself a baby Catholic and admitting that there are things about the faith that I don't know. There are many things that J.D. Vance doesn't know. One, how to run a government, an efficient government. Two, what the Constitution says. And three, how to have more subtle eyeliner. There's a video I was watching of him. I don't know if I have it here, of him meeting with the Pope. And it looks like, let's see if I can find it. It looks like the eyeliner is falling into his eyes. I should have put this on here. It's just bizarre. He just doesn't know how to do correct facial expressions. When you watch JD Vance talk to other human beings, it's like he's trying so hard to appear normal. I don't know if I can find it here. I'm looking. Here it is.
So good to see you. Hello. So good to see you. God bless you and good morning. How are you?
Just awkward stance. He's just an awkward guy. This guy, he's not the successor to Donald Trump. I know he thinks he is, and I know some of you think he is. He's not. When he's hiding behind Trump and he's just out there being a bootlicker, you guys like him. But if he has to talk for himself and have his own ideas, he's a problem. He's a problem. This is the most uncomfortable. I mean, maybe it's just because he believes this guy talks to God and this guy keeps telling him to shut the fuck up. Maybe that's why this is uncomfortable. But JD Vance is such a weirdly uncomfortable human.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Easter to you, Father. Wonderful.
Pope won't even look
I know
at him.
you've not been feeling great, but it's good to see you in better health.
I can watch JD Vance sit in silence all day long, in uncomfortable silence all day long, and just make your face normal, JD. Make it normal. Pretend like you're really into this. By the way, he hates the Pope. The Pope keeps telling him he's wrong, and JD Vance is a fragile little bitch. So he does not like this man sitting across from him. This has got to be incredibly uncomfortable.
Thank you.
These are for your children.
Okay, thank you.
These are the gifts.
just doesn't know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love this.
These are for your children.
Okay, thank you.
These are the gifts. These are also gifts for you as well.
Thank you. It's
The
beautiful.
Vatican tie, and then the rosaries for your wife, the white for your children, and the red one is for the red.
This is the part
Thank
with
you
his
very much for your
eyeliner that
visit.
I think it's just bleeding
Thank
in.
you very much for your visit.
Of course. And thank you for seeing me. Pray for you every day. God bless you.
Io prego per lei ogni giorno, che Dio la benedica. Grazie, Santo Padre.
Happy Easter.
He won't even look JD in the eye. It's clear there's not a high level of respect there. And then the Pope died the next day. So we're not going to blame JD Vance for that. But maybe the Pope didn't want to live in a world where JD Vance was vice president. So there was JD this weekend. He got absolutely roasted online. I'm not going to pick. I do know that today is a sensitive day for our Catholic friends, so I don't want to shit on JD all day. But it was pretty bad. However, we don't have to shit on JD because we've got Pete Hegseth here, our alcoholic Secretary of Defense with no qualifications. Other than he just hates Muslims and wants to kill all Muslims. That seemed to be enough for Donald Trump. He fucked up again. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen in a private Signal group chat that included his wife, his brother, and personal lawyer. His brother, by the way, who for some reason also has a position in the Pentagon. Some of those people said the information Hegseth shared on the Signal chat included the flight schedules of the F-18 Hornets targeting the Houthis in Yemen, essentially the same day attack plans that he shared on a separate Signal chat, the same day that mistakenly included the editor of The Atlantic. Now, if you remember, Donald Trump was like, oh, Pete's doing great. This wasn't Pete's fault. Pete would never do this. Well, it turns out Pete did this. Pete made this group chat, and I think it's just like he just wants to tell all his friends how cool he is. Look, guys, we're doing bombing, and since you know me, I'll tell you. Jennifer, Pete Hegseth's 84th wife, a former Fox News producer, is not a Defense Department employee, but she travels with him overseas and has drawn criticism for accompanying her husband to sensitive meetings with foreign leaders. She's not about to let this guy out of her sight. Like, this is... You remember when he's sitting there? He's like, I used to be a bad guy. I used to cheat on all my wives, but not this one. And then she's like, yeah, we'll see about that, motherfucker. And then she just goes with him everywhere. He's not allowed to go anywhere without his wife. She is on his ass. She doesn't trust him either. I don't know why, like, all of America, all the Republicans like, yeah, we trust this guy. His own wife doesn't trust him. We shouldn't trust this guy. In fact, he should just quit now. He sucks at his job. The Houthis I think what was it? What was the was it a drone or a plane that they shot down? Like 15 of them or something this weekend. I forgot to add that does anybody know what they shot down? We got any military folks here? I can't remember. We have it. I can pull it up on Twitter probably. There we go. Reaper drones, that's what it was. 17. Ever since we launched our offensive strikes on the Houthis, they have shot down 17 Reaper drones. Each Reaper costs about $30 million. And before we say that's just the cost of war, why are we bombing the Houthis again? Why are we bombing Yemen? Has anybody told us yet why we're bombing Yemen? We're just doing it. Is this practice? Why are we bombing Yemen right now? That's $210 million just for some reason to bomb the Houthis. Jamar says JD stands like he needs to take a shit. JD is Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't know how to say his name, but that's Egger from Men in Black. Said that's Vincent D'Onofrio in a meat suit in Men in Black. Egger, your skin is hanging off your bones. And that's that person. Anyways, Hegseth's brother Phil and Tim Parlatore, who continues for some reason to serve as his personal lawyer, both have jobs in the Pentagon, but it's not clear why either would need to know about upcoming military strikes aimed at Houthis in Yemen. Unlike the chat in which The Atlantic was mistakenly included, the newly revealed one was created by Hegseth. It included his wife and about a dozen other people from his personal and professional inner circle in January before his confirmation as defense secretary, and was named Defense Team Huddle. The people familiar, just don't call it Team Huddle. That sounds like a guy that worked out at a massive corporation. That's one of those meetings you had to go to if any of you have like worked in sales. We're going to have a team huddle. That's just where they tell you that your sales numbers aren't good enough. The people familiar with the chat said he used his private phone rather than his government one to access the Signal chat. So great news, guys. At least it's his private phone. That's better. Apparently everybody can hack Signal. Pete's using his private phone, and the reason he's using his private phone is so that he doesn't have to create records. This administration is going out of their way every single day to hide things from you, because they don't want the same thing to happen that happened last time, where their communications became public, and publicly it became very apparent that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Then Pete Hegseth goes to the Easter brunch, and he gets confronted by the news. And let me just say this. There is not a fascist regime in history that didn't spend all of their time after they're criticized going after the news. This is what criminals do. This is what guilty people do. This is what Richard Nixon did for about a year after he was caught trying to sabotage the Democrats. And he just kept calling everybody liars and saying that the press were the enemy and that he was perfect. And the only reason the press was coming after him is because he's doing so great. Let's take aside, get rid of all the stuff that we don't like about Pete Hegseth. What is he doing well? Well, he's trying to get rid of women, LGBTQ people, and black people out of the military. He's really whitened up our military. I guess like if that's the goal, which by the way it is his goal. Can we also address the fact that when we pointed out that his tattoos were also used by white nationalists, everybody's like, no, that's the Malta cross. He's totally not a white nationalist. He's absolutely a white nationalist. And this administration, ironically, is using tattoos to deport people as the only proof they need, but we can't talk about Pete Hegseth's white nationalist tattoos, right? Anyways, here's Pete Hegseth. I don't know who this kid is, but I think what he sees is, oh, Lord. I think this is his son, and he knows, uh-oh, my dad's about to talk to reporters. This never goes well when my dad talks to reporters, and it doesn't. Here's Pete Hegseth, probably still drunk and enraged at reporters for an Easter brunch.
Happy Easter egg roll, sir. Hey, we're happy to be here at the Easter egg roll, I'll tell you that. Be with the family, beautiful day. And President Trump is changing the country. And he's creating opportunities for families all across the.
Hey, good to see you on Easter. Thank you. It's good to be here. President Trump is the greatest thing that ever did live. He's fixing everything in this country. These guys are such sycophants. It's gross. That's by design. They are required to start every press conference by heaping praise on Trump. Isn't that weird? If you're a normal person, let's say you were the president, you wouldn't want people doing that every time. That's the stuff that sociopaths do. That's a weird thing that these guys do.
President Trump is changing the country. And he's creating opportunities for families all across America to better their lives. And that's what Make America Great Again is all about.
It's all about, he's creating Easter egg hunts. It's a tradition. He didn't do any of this shit. They do it every time. But look around you. Look at all this opportunity for Americans all across the country. Of course, everybody here is a donor. None of these are just everyday Americans. But look at all the great things Trump is doing for our country, like Easter egg hunts.
About the Signal chat controversy. You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax.
Not a hoax. Why? Also, why are you looking directly into this camera? Right into the camera. What a Fox News host. Russia hoax. What's he doing? It wasn't a hoax. 34 people were indicted. Most of them pled guilty. No hoax. It just stares right into the... Oh, there we go. Somebody clip that.
Hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies.
Truths. They were true. They were true. That's why Michael Flynn pled guilty. That's why Paul Manafort pled guilty. They just pled guilty for like, they lied about us, but we pled guilty anyways. 1,000% hoax. It can't be 1,000%. It can only be 100%. When you make it 1,000%, it's just because you don't want to believe it's not a hoax. They pled guilty. Somebody explain that. Nobody pled guilty. Jesus fucking Christ. Do we have to do this? All right, Republicans, I'm going to do stuff for you. Michael Flynn pleads guilty. Let's see. What's this here? President Trump has pardoned his first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, who spent years enmeshed in an often bizarre legal war with the government that sprang from a Russia investigation. Great honor to pardon him. Flynn pleaded guilty in 2017 to lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russian ambassador and then cooperated extensively with prosecutors. What happened there? What's that? He brought other people down. Is that not what are you if he didn't plead guilty, why did he plead guilty? How did that happen? Anybody know? Yeah, he pled guilty. Let's try a kid.
Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See,
this is all you guys say. It's literally all you guys say. You're still talking about it. Like 8 years later, you still won't shut the fuck up about it. It's on every single right-wing news source. You've said it so many times that the morons in the chat are like, yeah, it's total hoax. You guys have said it so many times that millions of people believe the lie that you're spewing right now. It's all you guys talk about. You're talking about it now. You're talking about it now to avoid the fact that you created a text thread sharing classified information. These are the biggest fucking cowards you'll ever meet. I mean, every Republican defending this is a fucking coward. Every one of you. Just admit it. The guy's incompetent. He fucks up a lot, like a lot. And instead of answering the question about the fuck up that he made, he's going to take us back to 2017. And he's going to divert the attention. Why don't we talk about these journalists who told the truth, but I say they're lying? They should give their Pulitzers back. Let's not discuss the fact that I don't know how to keep classified information secret. Let's not discuss that.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
You don't have a reputation anymore. You're just a drunk. That's it. Sorry. You don't have much of a reputation to burn anymore. You have sycophants, Trump sycophants, who will defend everything you did and do, and then the rest of the world who knows that you're a blithering, incompetent drunk.
Because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of war fighters, and anonymous...
White fighter. You meant white fighters. We're whiteifying the military. We're putting the whites back in charge. We're doing all the things that my white nationalist, white friends wanted me to do. That's what you're doing right now.
Years from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here.
This is why we're currently bombing people in Yemen. This is why we're bombing apartment complexes in Yemen, because these kids need to know that people in Yemen don't deserve to live.
This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. So this group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what...
Yeah, but could you tell us about the text thread you put together, or no? No, you're not going to tell us about that? You're just going to call us... You guys, you're all hoaxsters. This is why we're fighting the war against the fake news media and the Democrats. You want to know why Democrats are so goddamn angry all the time? Or, I mean, Republicans are so goddamn angry all the time? Because every time one of their people gets in charge, they're like, this is a war. This means war. That's why they hate us. They hate us because every time they fuck up, they just blame us. At what point is this guy ever going to take a little bit of responsibility for the fact that, one, he can't control his alcohol, and two, he doesn't seem to know how to protect classified information? They complain about leakers. You know why people leak? You know why people are anonymous? Because you'll go after them. That's why they have whistleblower protection. ironically, the same people you fire for leaking information turn out to be the whistleblowers. Why do you think for the first time in their career they're leaking information? The military's just so full of wokesters. Is that what it is? The military just hates Donald Trump so much. They're like, what, the military really wants Russia to win the wars. They really want the Houthis to win the wars. Is that what this is? I don't know why you guys buy it. I don't know why you're so such big government cucks. You love big government. You trust the government over anything else. You'll trust the government over your own eyes. You guys are still, I showed you that Mike Flynn pled guilty. We could pull up the court documents and you would still leave. And the next person that says it, you would call them a liar too. There's no truth anymore. It's just, they hand feed you a lie and then you repeat that lie. And that's why they're angry. That's why they don't have an excuse for any of this shit. That's why they all sound so goddamn crazy. And the bootlickers, they're out in full force today. Charlie Kirk. I want to point out something here. None of these bootlickers are going to defend what Pete Hegseth did. They're going to do exactly what Pete Hegseth did. And this is the Trump strategy. If any of you watched that Roy Cohn movie, I forget what it's called, but it did a great job. Roy Cohn basically taught Trump, never admit fault and always attack the people attacking you. And Republicans have learned this. And honestly, I just think that most of the world and most of America, they're tired of it. Like, not everybody's willing to just be lied to all the time. Here's Charlie Kirk. When they come after Pete Hegseth, just remember everything they don't want to talk about. Recruiting is up. Morale is up. Standards are up. Efficiency is up. My dick is up. Americans' influence is up. And most importantly, lethality is up. Yeah, why would we talk about that instead of the fact that he's leaking sensitive information? That's what's crazy. Like, how come you guys ever talk about anything other than praise? What's down? Only the influence of neocons and warmongers and the use of military to promote politicized nonsense. That's what they want back. It's not about some signal chat. We would like to not be at war all the time. A lot of us. Didn't believe Trump when he said he was anti-war. A lot of us didn't believe Charlie Kirk when he said he was anti-war. And the reason we didn't believe them is because we've heard them speak before, and now they're showing their true colors. Like, they love war. They love bombing the Houthis. They love regime change wars. Anytime they have an opportunity to go blow up some Muslims, they'll do it. Because as we must remind you every day, Pete Hegseth's stated goal is to kill all Muslims. All of them. Kill all Muslims. That's just his goal. Greg said there's probably a third signal chat group where he invited the Houthis. Hey, God, that's how they keep shooting our shit down. He's like, we're attacking in 10 minutes. Like, oh, this is going to be easy. Honestly, maybe. The thing is, like, if they're going to put a report, they can put a reporter in their chat and not know about it. They absolutely could do that. Greg, that was beautiful, by the way. Good to see you, Greg. Other notorious bootlickers are out here. We got Benny Johnson bootlicking. None of them want to address the story here. So all of MAGA, this is Libs of TikTok, Benny Johnson. They're all on like the same. They're on the same email chain where they're just sent the clip and they're like, "Hey guys, Pete Hegseth got caught doing some dumb shit again. Here's Caroline Levitt's clip. This will prove to everybody that Pete Hegseth did nothing wrong." So here, if you go on Twitter and you check all the right-wingers, they're all posting this clip similarly to Benny Johnson saying, Caroline Levitt shuts down all of the fake news about Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Okay, well, here's what she said.
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental.
The whole Pentagon's working against Pete Hegseth now. It's fucking everybody, guys. Everybody's against Donald Trump now.
Change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland. And unfortunately, there have been people at that building who don't like the change the secretary is trying to bring.
Yes, some people aren't racist. Some people aren't white nationalists. And those people are probably upset. And they're like, hey, this guy's turning our military into a white nationalist militia, and then they tell on him. And Again, just to point this out, though, she's not addressing anything. She's just saying Trump still supports him, so you guys need to support him. This is not an own. This is literally just saying we still support him. We love him. We're not going to address anything that he did. We just love him.
So they are leaking and they are lying to the mainstream media. We've seen this game played before. The secretary is doing a tremendous job, and the president stands strongly behind him.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth is doing a phenomenal job. He's doing such an incredible job. They're shooting down our drones. They can't keep anything a secret, and his wife has to follow him into every meeting because even in classified meetings, she's worried that he's going to like try and fuck somebody. That's what he does. They're just like, Pete, you can't get drunk and try and fuck somebody. Now, in these meetings, you can scream, kill all Muslims, because it's your administration. It's your department, and everybody that you hire also wants to kill all the Muslims. But I'm going to follow you around to make sure that you keep it in your pants. This guy's absolutely incompetent. But more importantly, it's just bootlick after bootlick after bootlick. Then Pete Hegseth gets absolutely rolled here. The Democrats Twitter tweets out at Pete Hegseth needs to go. And because like all Republicans, you guys are obsessed with trans people. You just like, look, honest to God, just don't be mad about the stuff don't be mad about the porn that you watch. Just accept, it's okay. Just be cool with whatever you watch. You don't have to be mad. Pete Hegseth says, your agenda is illegals, trans, and DEI, all of which are no longer allowed at DOD. And Democrats hit him with Pete Hegseth's point of view. They win. They won that one. That's a W. It is a clown administration. Why? What about this has anything to do with what Pete Hegseth did? Apologize. By the way, this was an easy one. This is what Pete Hegseth should have done. But these guys are such egomaniacs, and they work for the Trump administration, so they can't admit when they do something wrong. This leak happened at the same time as the other one. Pete Hegseth could have easily just said, you know what? I did do this. I fucked up. I thought Signal was more secure than it is. Now I know Signal's not secure. And so those text messages that I sent then on Signal, I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to do it again. And we wouldn't forgive him because he should have known that from the beginning. But you guys would, and you'd move past it. And there wouldn't really be any argument anymore because I'd say he's incompetent, and you'd say maybe, but he apologized and he learned, and I'm going to give him another chance. That's what any normal human would do. If I was advising the Trump administration, that's what I would advise them to do. Just say you're sorry, say it won't happen again, and move on. But they can't. They're not allowed to because Daddy tells them that apologies are weakness. You cannot apologize to these people. And then, I think I got that one. Yeah, I got that. Caroline Leavitt was still very upset about all of this. And instead of talking about Pete Hegseth, she says, remember, guys, I need you to only be upset about what I'm upset about. And I get why they get frustrated. Spray tan's looking good. I get why she gets upset because Republicans just do what they're told. When you tell Republicans what to be upset about, they get upset about it. When you tell them not to be upset about something, they don't get upset about it. It's very easy. So for Caroline Leavitt and the rest of this administration, I understand why it's frustrating when people don't just do exactly what you say. Here she is saying we shouldn't worry about anybody. We shouldn't worry about Van Hollen. We should just go about our days and ignore what this administration's doing because everything they're doing is good.
They should know the truth about this man. He is an illegal alien, a foreign terrorist, and a criminal MS-13 gang member.
All unconfirmed. All of it unconfirmed.
Who violated our country's laws by coming here in the first place. And shame on Senator Chris Van Hollen and the entire Democrat Party, who wasted Easter Sunday going on every television show in the country to advocate for the return of an illegal criminal gang member.
Nobody's doing that, and I'll get to Van Hollen here in a second. But do you see this? Like every time they fuck up, the response is exactly the same. You guys shouldn't be upset about our fuck-ups. You should ignore our fuck-ups and just enjoy a nice Easter. I honestly, it's not my favorite holiday. Shout out to anybody who loved Easter, but It's always the move. And this is always the Trump move. This is why Trump lost in 2020. And unfortunately, people have short memories and they forgot because Trump is fucking exhausting. He does crazy shit every single day because he's crazy and because he's incompetent and because he's not that bright. But he talks so confidently. So when people looked back and they remembered like, oh, times were good, COVID sucked. And they remember the time before COVID and they remember the difference between pre-COVID and during COVID. And they're like, oh, I liked pre-COVID better. And that was Trump. So I'm voting for Trump. That's mostly what happened. That's mostly how he won. Again, COVID earned him a second. It probably cost him his first presidency and it gave him a second one. That's really what happened. But then he gets back into this administration 4 years older, 4 years dumber, and people are already exhausted. And I just don't think people are going to be willing to look away from this. There's a lot of people who will not look away from this. Let me skip this. Actually, I'll play that. Let me go back to this. I want to go back to Easter. Trump, I showed you the J.D. Vance stuff. I showed you him saying that he prayed for the Pope. Ironically, the day after he says he prays for the Pope dies. And I think that we can all admit that J.D. Vance killed the Pope. Trump on Easter, instead of enjoying Trump's Easter, here's what Trump did. Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and the mentally insane and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. Do you see the game here? The game here, and by the way, I've got plenty of conservatives agree, including Joe Rogan. I'll show you a clip in a minute. We don't care about Abrego Garcia. I don't think there's much evidence that Abrego Garcia is a good person. I think there's a lot of evidence that Abrego Garcia is not a very good person. However, due process is important. And due process is important, especially with this administration. We'll show you some more stuff later, but they don't really know what they're doing. They will deport, detain, arrest, and imprison people without due process. Some of those people haven't committed crimes. Some of them are American citizens. What Van Hollen, and he spent all Sunday explaining this, like, I don't know Abrego Garcia. None of us do. But by all accounts, probably not a great guy. Not very great to his wife and his kids. Maybe not. Maybe based on what I've read, might have been like a low-level leaf dealer. Not a great guy. Deserves due process because everybody deserves due process. Because once you become a country who says we don't care about due process anymore, you have real fucking problems. That's what we're upset about. If Donald Trump had a good excuse to deport him, Donald Trump wouldn't have to say stuff like this. Donald Trump wouldn't have to distract you. And for all the Republicans here, this is absolutely just distraction techniques. They don't want you to pay attention to them stripping people of their rights, ignoring the Constitution, ignoring a Supreme Court order. They want you to agree with them that it's okay for an executive branch to do things that they feel are right without due process. By the way, you guys have some people on your side who have been labeled domestic terrorists. You have Moms for Liberty. You have every white nationalist group, the 3%ers, the Oath Keepers, what's his name, Enrique Tarrio's group, Proud Boys. You guys have a lot of domestic terrorists on your side. I don't think that I think that if Biden would have arrested and deported them, I think that if Biden would have come out and said, oh, well, look at Enrique Tarrio. Enrique Tarrio wanted to overthrow the government so he doesn't get due process. I would imagine that every one of you would say, I'm not defending Enrique Tarrio, but he does have the right to due process. In fact, that was your argument, your lie about January 6th, is that the people on January 6th didn't receive due process, except for they did. Every one of them got a court date. Every one of them had representation if they chose not to represent themselves. Every single one of them had due process. And the Constitution is specific. It does not say only naturalized citizens have due process. It says all people. If you would like to change our Constitution, so due process is not granted to all people, but instead granted only to naturalized citizens, then you need to change the Constitution. That's what this government has made me very concerned about with the Republican Party. It started with the border crisis. It started with this idea that you can just take people and remove them even though they have an asylum claim. And when Republicans and Democrats agreed that we had a problem at the border and came together and wrote a bill because that's what you're supposed to do to fix the problem, Trump said, no, thanks. No, the executive branch just needs to be able to do whatever the fuck they want. We're not going to change the laws. We're just going to enforce them however we want to, even if it is outside of the Constitution. The big complaint or the big concern that all of us should have, including those of you who voted for Donald Trump, support Donald Trump, and want these people gone. If you think Abrego Garcia should be removed from this country, honestly, I don't know if I disagree with that. Based on what I've seen, I don't know that this is somebody who should be given protected status. I looked at the criminal record. Even though his wife dropped it, I don't know. It's not a great person. I don't know what you do about it. I don't know what you do about somebody claiming that somebody abused them and then dropping those charges. It's ironic that Trump here is willing to call Abrego Garcia a wife beater, even though she dropped the charges, because Donald Trump was accused by his wife of sexual abuse, domestic abuse, and rape. So that's a little sticky for me. If we're going to say that one person, if their wife takes those allegations back, is clean and we should never discuss it, then you can't really do it when somebody else's does, right? It's the same thing. She filed a police report too. She did the same thing. She just took it back. So I don't know how we square those two things. I know brown versus white. Maybe that's all that matters to you folks. But he's also credibly accused. There's more evidence of Donald Trump being a violent criminal than Abrego Garcia. We have a minor who accused Trump and Epstein of sexual abuse. We have something like it's like 30 plus women have accused Donald Trump of sexual abuse. Why is it that I would just wonder, and by the way, Republicans, you're always welcome to come up here and debate this. The question I would ask you is, why is it that when Trump gets accused of things, you say that they're false accusations, even when they have a higher level of evidence than Abrego Garcia, but when Abrego Garcia is accused of something, you just believe it? Do we recognize, at least in some ways, like the hypocrisy here? Thank you, Marianne, for the super chat. I got that one. And just a reminder, we are crowd-funded, so we do rely on the generosity of our viewers so that we can keep the lights on here and so Jen doesn't quit. We have PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. If you're wondering which is better, PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App are better than Super Chats for us just because we keep a bigger percentage. YouTube takes, I believe, 30% of every transaction. So just if it matters to you and you'd rather do it that way, that's the way to go. And then for the Republicans, that the Venmo username is also Jen's Discord username. So if you want to answer that question for me, please feel free to message Jen. I'll bring you up. But I want to know why, when allegations are made against your people, you defend it, but when they're made, those same allegations with less proof are made against people like Abrego Garcia, you're willing to eliminate due process entirely. I have a problem with that. What we're saying is consistent. Donald Trump should face trial. He did. Abrego Garcia should face trial. That's all we're saying. That's consistent. What you guys are saying is that Donald Trump should not face trial. Abrego Garcia should. And that feels inconsistent to me. The rest of this... Happy Easter also to the weak and ineffective judges and law enforcement officials. There goes fuck back the blue. Fuck our Constitution right there too. Weak and ineffective judges and law enforcement officials who are allowing this sinister attack on our nation to continue. An attack so violent that it will never be forgotten. We are at all-time lows on violent crime right now. All-time lows. There was Elizabeth Warren has introduced legislation to basically, and people in Congress are now saying we need to take away Trump's ability to declare war because he doesn't seem to know what war is. He will claim anything's war. We've never been less violent. Violent crime is at all-time lows. Sleepy Joe Biden purposely allowed millions of criminals to enter our country, totally unvetted and unchecked. Not true. Joe Biden didn't do that on purpose. In fact, it appears this would be the exact opposite of the truth. Donald Trump purposely allowed millions of criminals or asylum seekers to enter our country when he refused to endorse the bipartisan bill. And he told Mike Johnson, don't pass any bills. Wait until I'm in office. Donald Trump kept that alive. We had legislation. We could have actually done so. And by the way, to this day, we have done nothing to fix our asylum system. We haven't fixed it at all. Donald Trump is not good at deporting people. He's very ineffective at that. He has to go, Joe Biden, every time. It will go down in history as the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated upon America. Not 9/11, not the Civil War, not the Revolutionary War, not Pearl Harbor. No, the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated on America was a bunch of people seeking asylum who came to our country, and our violent crime rate went down. That's the most calamitous act. How could anything be worse than that? He was by far our worst and most incompetent president, a man who has absolutely no idea what he was doing. But to him and to the person that ran and manipulated the auto pen, perhaps our real president, and to all the people who cheated in the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive moron elected, I wish you, with great love, sincerity, and affection, a very happy Easter. But that's crazy. This is the rantings of a crazy person. If this was your neighbor, you'd be like, Larry, put down the fucking phone, man. Let it go. Let it go. Someone told him what calamitous means. Yeah, they added that. Are you surprised, Morris? Are you surprised when I say Trump did this? You explain it to me then. Again, you can join the Discord and you can correct me there. You explain it to me then. We have asylum laws. At the border, we're required to adhere to the asylum laws. People showed up to our border, mostly because of COVID, but also because of some of the actions of the Trump administration, which we can show this. I'll show you the executive order. If you don't believe me, this is Trump admitting that he fucked up in Venezuela. This is called the Memorandum on Deferred Enforcement Departure for Certain Venezuelans. Trump says the autocratic government of Nicolas Maduro has consistently violated the sovereign freedoms possessed by the Venezuelan people. Through force and fraud, the Maduro regime is responsible for the worst humanitarian crisis in the Western Hemisphere in recent history. A catastrophic economic crisis and shortages of basic goods and medicine have forced about 5 million Venezuelans to flee the country. This is Trump as president before he leaves office. This administration has imposed sanctions against Maduro and his regime, and I've recognized the president of the Venezuelan Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the interim president of the country. He just like, yeah, no, I don't recognize your president. I'm picking a different one. The deteriorative condition within Venezuela, which presents an ongoing national security threat to the safety and well-being of the American people, warrants the deferral of the removal of Venezuelan nationals who are present in the United States. So Trump said 5 million Venezuelans have been forced to flee the country due to Nicolas Maduro and the sanctions imposed on Maduro and his regime, which would have been by this administration. That's his administration. And so we have 5 million people. And because of that, because of what Maduro did and because of our reaction, the people coming here from Venezuela shouldn't be deterred. They have safe harbor. So yes, not only did this start under Donald Trump, if you remember leading up to the 2020 election, he was talking about migrant caravans over and over and over again, which was ironic because he did that while he was in charge. And then one of the last things he did on his way out was make sure that those migrant caravans that were coming for Joe, because Joe Biden asked them to, he gave them a place to stay. He said, you can come here. Yeah, you're safe here in America. So not only did he lie in the campaign, then he gave them the ability to stay here safely. And then when Republicans and Democrats came together and wrote a bill to say, let's fix the asylum system because obviously we've got a problem here. We can't process all of these people quickly. We need way more resources. And who controls the purse? Congress. So Congress writes a bill to give them more resources. And Trump tells Mike Johnson to kill that bill. And that bill still has not been brought up. And they haven't offered a new bill. It's because Trump wants to rule as king. He doesn't want to follow the laws. So yes, it's Trump's fault that we haven't fixed this. Yes, It started under his administration. He gave Venezuelans protection, and then while he was out of office, because he is so powerful within your party and they do whatever he says, he killed a bill. So yeah, I am blaming Trump. They're not seeking asylum. What the fuck is this then? What is this? What about these Venezuelans? Do you disagree with Trump? Do you disagree with Trump that they're looking for asylum? Trump seems to think they were coming here looking for asylum. What is that? Fighting for the criminal sentence. You see, you guys, you're not even agreeing with Trump. You're so mad. You hate immigrants so very much, and you're so blinded by rhetoric. I'm showing you the words. I'm showing you executive actions, and you are closing your eyes and saying, no, 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 no. I don't know what to tell you. This is why people call you dumb all the time. This is why people say you're in a cult all the time. It's because of shit like that. You can be confronted with the truth and you just close your eyes and say no. I don't know what to do with you guys. I love you. I hope you keep coming back. It's nice to have you here. Thanks for being here. Can we send them to prison without Article 3 judge? Can we send you can detain I'm not sure what your question is, Scott. If you're saying can we deport people without an Article 3 judge? That seems to be up for debate. It does seem to be up for debate. We have judges that are ruling on both sides of that. The Supreme Court's going to have to decide that one. I would say no, but what the fuck do we know at this point? I have no idea. I'm unhinged. Yeah, I'm unhinged, guys. Not your president, not the guy that just did this. This guy's not unhinged. This guy takes Easter to just like scream at Joe Biden and relitigate the past and call everybody morons. That's the leader of our country. Not unhinged. Me reading his tweet and pointing out the inconsistencies, that's what makes me unhinged. Got it. More incompetence, though, however, by this administration, just before we get to Joe Rogan. This is crazy. Remember, they're gutting programs, and one of the things that they've gutted is TSA. This is a line of people trying to catch a connecting flight. So these are people catching a connecting flight, trying to check in. I believe an international flight. So they have to check their luggage again. This is in Atlanta, where the TSA has been gutted. Look at this line.
Yeah, my husband did. It's perfect. Yeah.
Don't worry, just another dude. We'll get there. I'll tell you what he's selling off.
Yes, sir.
Cool. America first. This is great. This is great. This is what we need. I'll fast forward. Look at this fucking line. This is what happens. And the reason we cut this, why did we cut this funding? So that we can make up an excuse to tax billionaires less. You want to wait in lines like this? Just don't worry. Don't worry when you're this guy and you're trying to catch a connecting flight. Where's the guy at the end? If you're these, oh, sorry. Let me pick a white person so that you guys care. Right there. All right, this guy. Now you can care because that's a white person. When you're this guy and you're standing in line waiting to get through, just remember, it's okay because billionaires are paying less in taxes. It's more important. This is the line from TSA line now because we're pulling funding everywhere. All right, now, so that you guys can stop yelling at me, Joe Rogan agrees with me, just so we're clear. Joe Rogan, and virtually, honest to God, this is starting to become like a 70-30, maybe 80-20 issue. Anybody who isn't just like a Trump humper agrees that due process should be followed here. I've yet to see somebody, and I'm sure it exists, but I've yet to see somebody say, oh, Abrego Garcia is such a wonderful person. His wife did, which is what you would do if you're their wife. You'd say, you know, my husband's great. I've never defended the person. Here's Joe Rogan agreeing with me. Sorry, guys.
Well, here's the problem with fuck that. The problem with things that are going in a radical direction, and then there's an overcorrection. So the
By the way, this keeps going around. I did have a father. I don't know why you guys all use the same. You all use the same line. Like it seems like I did have a father. My father was a conservative. My father is a conservative. I was raised conservative. But what I learned about my parents and their politics is they don't read. They just listen to shit and then repeat it. They're entirely educated by Facebook memes, like I think most of you are, but we'll start that over. It's weird that you guys all use the same thing. Like it seems like I didn't have a father. That's a weird one. Joe Rogan didn't have a father, though, and he's a conservative, so let's hear what he has to say.
About due process. No, fuck that. But here's the problem with fuck that. The problem with things that are going in a radical direction, and then there's an overcorrection. So the overcorrection is lack of due process. The overcorrection is like round them all up, ship them to jail. Like that's like some things that you say when you're not thinking things through. Like, what do you do about all the criminals? Take them all, fucking send them to El Salvador.
Yeah.
What about due process? No.
He's doing the MAGA voice. He's doing the MAGA voice. He's making fun of you guys with the MAGA voice now. That's the one we use to make fun of you guys.
Fuck that. But here's the problem with fuck that. What if you are an enemy of, let's not say any current president. Let's pretend we got a new president, totally new guy in 2028. And this is a common practice now of just rounding up gang members with no due process and shipping them to El Salvador. You're a gang member. No, I'm not. Prove it. What? I got to go to court. No, no due process.
That's dangerous, Joe.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. We got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters.
Oh. That's the point, right? Like, nobody's saying that we shouldn't do anything about these gangs. Nobody's saying that we shouldn't do anything about trafficking. Nobody's saying we shouldn't do anything about our broken asylum system. All we're saying is do it the right way. Don't you want to get it right? Why doesn't anybody want to get it right? It's odd to me that so many people are just willing to get things wrong here. Like, it's fine if we don't get this right. It's fine if we deport a bunch of innocent people. As long as some people get deported, then I'm good.
I think due process exists for a reason, and the reason is it is horrific for someone to be accused of something they didn't do, be imprisoned for crimes they didn't commit, and then live in a cell, live in a cage with a bunch of
people who did commit shit.
Here it is, Benjamin Franklin. It's better 100 guilty persons should escape than one innocent person should suffer. That is wisdom that has survived hundreds of years. It's incredibly accurate, and it is the foundation of freedom. Like, we have to make sure that these people are actually guilty, otherwise we become monsters. You can't, like, what is that? When you fight monsters, be careful that you don't become one.
Become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very important.
I don't know if he's quoting himself. I don't know if he knows he just said that, but or if he's quoting himself. I liked that.
Important. You know, you can't do that. You know, it's one of those things where to support one side of this, you have to deny some like basic human values. Either way, like to support just rounding people up and just assuming they're all gang members. I'm not saying they're doing that, but this is the worst case scenario.
They are doing that.
They get a bunch of people in a room, they rope them all in, and one guy's just someone's cousin picking someone up to give him a ride home. That's possible.
And now you're back on the one innocent person. Now you're right back.
And what if that dude is not doing anything wrong and he's got some stupid tattoos and they decide that this guy's a gang member, and now you're in a prison in El Salvador and you're not even from El Salvador. And now, you know, you were just a hairdresser or you were a tattoo artist,
family
or whatever
man.
you are.
Yeah.
You know, you came over here and maybe you got a green card and maybe you don't. Maybe you were just given asylum, because a lot of people from Venezuela were given asylum in America.
Yeah.
And then you get shipped to El Salvador where you're not even.
Let me answer a couple of these questions. What's wrong with deporting illegal immigrants? Nothing. Nothing. Was Abrego Garcia set to be deported? No, he was not. The Trump administration and a Republican judge said that because they believed he would be subject to violence if he was returned to El Salvador, gave him the ability to stay here. He was allowed to stay here. The judge ruled that he was allowed to stay here under Trump's administration. That's the problem that we have here. This is not somebody. I think that a lot of Republicans have been fed this lie that he was here illegally, he was supposed to be deported, and he was in hiding, and they found him. That's not what happened. He was given. I forget the stats. I forget what it's called, but he was given the legal right to stay here because he was at danger if he went back to El Salvador. Largely, by the way, because he had been accused of being a member of a gang, despite the fact that they had no evidence. The courts have ruled that there wasn't evidence. In fact, ICE lied. On ICE's form, when ICE came in and said, "Oh, this is who this guy is," they said he was picked up during a murder investigation. ICE legitimately lied on their form, on purpose, by the way. He was picked up at a Home Depot. He was picked up at a Home Depot with 3 other men, and one of those men was accused, it was known to be somebody who sold leaves. And Obrego Garcia, according to the police report, had money, like a wad of money. That's what we know. Again, maybe he is a member of a gang. Maybe he is, and we just haven't figured it out. Due process matters. He's been to court. He's never been proven to be a member of a gang, and he was not on a short list to be deported. That's the problem. We just want him to be able to go to court. We think people should go to court. If you accuse somebody of a crime, are you saying that if you accuse somebody of a crime that doesn't have permanent residence here, then you can just deport them? That seems to be what you guys are in favor of. Supreme Court disagrees with you 9-0. 9-0. But no, you guys are probably right.
Even from El Salvador. So that the fact that exists scares the shit out of me.
Okay, M. Scott said, my question about sending them to prison was over the fact that immigration judges and their courts are civil. They don't have the authority to send immigrants to a prison like the one in El Salvador. Only federal judges, Article 3 judges, have that authority via criminal court. Trump is sending them to a prison through our immigration system, which is a civil process. That's like Judge Wapner from the People's Court sending people to prison. Okay, I see what you're saying now. Clearly they don't have that. That's why the courts ruled that due process had not been followed, because courts, without the permission, as you pointed out there, the immigration judges and courts, they do not have the authority to send people to prison. Yeah, that's correct. Steven said that's like someone accusing Joe Rogan being a funny comedian. Thanks for the entertainment during gym hours. Keep it up. He is not a funny comedian. It's a damn shame. All right, moving on here. Here's Tom Homan. Tom Homan was on ABC. It's important to remember that Tom Homan's a dumb guy, and Tom Homan admits that he's a dumb guy. And Trump chose a belligerent dumb guy on purpose, because belligerent dumb guy who hates immigrants will just do what he's told. And that's what Tom Homan is saying here. I just do what I'm told. I just do whatever the fuck I want. And then if Trump tells me not to follow a court order, I don't follow a court order.
But no one's removed just because of a tattoo.
In other words, the Alien Entity Act means you can grab somebody and you can deport them without an extended hearing because you have labeled them a terrorist. Because you've said you've determined that somebody is a member of the gang, and therefore they don't have to go through the extended process of the opportunity to have a full hearing. That's what you're saying. I mean, let's just be clear.
I'm saying we're following the laws of this country. There's a different procedure for each one. We're doing things within the frame of the law. We're doing things legally.
Okay.
I stand by that. Now, again, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I'm not going to argue this in court. That's what the Department of Justice does. But I'm sitting here today thinking we've done the right thing for this nation, following the laws and the Constitution of this country.
All right, Tom Homan, the Trump administration's borders are. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Now, somebody said he's a patriot. He's just cleaning things up. He's not. Here's the reality about this administration. Not only are they fucking up a lot, they're also the least effective at deporting people. Here's a couple stories of where they fucked up. Jose Hermosillo, a 19-year-old who lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico with his girlfriend and 9-month-old daughter. He was visiting Tucson when he passed by the Border Patrol headquarters, and an agent arrested him for illegally entering the country. Hermosillo, who was not carrying identification, told immigration officials that he was a United States citizen, but they did not believe him. Now, Tucson is, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours from the border. So I'm like, when you're to Tucson, you think like, oh, I'm most of the border. You're not. And they picked him up nowhere near the border. In fact, it says Court documents obtained by Danielle Camara of AZPM say that Hermosillo was detained at or near Nogales, Arizona, and that he admitted he was not a citizen. Let me just show you the difference here in Nogales and Tucson. If we go here. All right. Here is Tucson. If you look at Arizona, this is Tucson. This is Nogales. It's about a two. I don't know what that number is. It's about 2.5 hours to Tucson from where I live here in Phoenix. So it's about 1.5 hours to 2 hours from Nogales. This is like a 55-mile-an-hour road all the way up. He's in Tucson. This is a very mountainous region. It would take a long time. You would know if somebody had gotten to Tucson. By the way, once you cross those mountains, you're not going to Tucson. You're not going to go roll by a border patrol. Nogales, more than an hour from Tucson. His family had no idea where he was, but eventually his girlfriend's aunt tracked him down at the Florence Correctional Center and ICE Detention Center. He was held for 10 days before an immigration judge dismissed his case and ordered his release. ICE would not comment on his arrest. Again, here's their lie here. Jose Hermosillo is a citizen of Mexico. On April 8th, 2025, agents found Jose Hermosillo in the United States at or near Nogales without proper immigration documents. Jose Hermosillo did not obtain the express consent of the Attorney General or the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security to apply for admission to the United States. The thing that I think people don't recognize is how racist and how eager these ICE agents are and Homeland Security agents are and Border Patrol agents are to arrest people. They just see a brown person and they give it a go. Here's Julio Noriega. 54-year-old Julio Noriega was arrested by ICE officers on January 31st in Berwyn, Illinois. He was out applying for work at area businesses. Noriega, who was born in Chicago, was approached by ICE officers who grabbed and handcuffed him and put him into a van without an opportunity to explain his citizenship. Noriega was held for about 10 hours. When ICE officers reviewed the contents of Julio's wallet, realized he was a United States citizen, and he was then released with no money and no paperwork. Noriega was arrested as part of a larger sweep of 22 individuals. Bakir Atala and Jessica Fakhri, who I showed videos of, these are Trump-voting Trump supporters. They're married. They were detained by immigration authorities while coming back from Canada. They held us in 2 separate cells, and neither of us had shoes or a jacket. It was freezing. Both Atala and Fakhri are U.S. citizens. Atala is originally from Lebanon and became a naturalized citizen 10 years ago. Atala said that CBP agents requested permission to look through his email. He is an attorney, by the way, an immigration attorney, I think. He agreed to the search of his phone under duress. The pair was released after being detained for 5 hours. In a statement, to CBP said its officers acted in accordance with established protocols. Atala's account was blatantly false and sensationalized. If they are acting in accordance with established protocols, then those established protocols say that you can detain and jail people without committing a crime who are citizens of the United States. That's fucking wild. However, all this shit that you guys are celebrating, yeah, fuck yeah, America, woo, it's part of a broader point, is that deportation of people who are here illegally is fine, and almost nobody disagrees with that. This administration is awful at it, the worst at it. They were bad at it the first time. They're bad at it now. Both Obama and Biden did a better job actually deporting people who were here illegally, and they didn't have all these fuck-ups to go along with it. The aggressive tactics that have ensnared U.S. citizens are not resulting in the increased deportation of migrants. The Trump administration has not increased the overall pace of deportations as compared to the prior administration. According to Reuters, Trump has deported 37,660 people during his first month in office. Previously unpublished U.S. Department of Homeland Security data shows. Far less than the monthly average of 57,000 removals and returns in the last full year of Biden's administration. Over the first 2 months of the Trump administration, there were 258 deportation flights, above the level in the final months of the Biden administration, according to an analysis by the New York Times. Notably, the federal government has not released data on whom it is deporting, but whatever the exact figures, it is clear that the administration is falling short of the mass deportations Trump vowed to carry out. The reality is that even trampling on the rights of American citizens and ignoring legal protections for migrants is not enough to fulfill Trump's wildly unrealistic promises. That's from popular.info. I subscribe to them on Substack. It's a great place to get some news. It's the cruelty that you guys love. It's not the effectiveness that you love. You love the fact that they're going after immigrants. You don't care if it's effective. You'll celebrate this. So while they're worse than every other administration, they're also shitty at it. And they also are rounding up American citizens and putting them in jails. At least Biden didn't wrongfully send law-abiding U.S. citizens. Yeah. If the conservatives don't win here in Canada, you're going to witness a revolt. Yeah, because you guys are fucking stupid. Yeah, you guys will revolt. That's what you guys do. We already saw that in America. The problem is that those of you that are going to show up to revolt, you're all fucking stupid. You're all morons. And your government's not going to back you up. You're going to show up, you're going to revolt, and you're going to wind up in jail. Just go for it. You don't have a majority. And most of the people that even agree with you aren't going to go out and revolt. It's just going to be you. You're going to roll up to the national igloo in your dog sled and start throwing snowballs. I don't know what you guys do in Canada. That sounds right to me. Like, you're going to lose. You're getting crushed. You're getting and largely because people see how fucked up conservatism is going around the world. Like, nobody wants to live in a conservative government. People don't want to live in El Salvador. People don't want to live in Argentina. People don't want to live under authoritarian rule. You guys are just desperate for daddy to come home and tell you what to do. We need daddy to come home and get rid of all the people who don't think like us. Why can't we all just be hateful bigots? I'm tired of the government standing in the way of our bigotry. Let's see. This is crazy. I don't know if you guys saw this. Nancy Mace had an absolute meltdown this weekend. I think this got missed by a lot of people. I don't know who this guy is. This is a gay man in a, I don't know if it's a CVS or a makeup store. I think somebody said it was maybe a Sephora. He saw Nancy Mace and he asked Nancy Mace a very simple question. Are you going to be doing town halls? Now, Nancy Mace is a sitting member of Congress and also is running for governor. So I think that's a fair question to ask. Are you going to be doing town halls? And watch Nancy Mace lose her shit.
I do them every year.
Every year.
You want to keep going?
Do you want
to keep going and keep harassing me? You could have gone to a dozen town halls last year.
I asked if you're doing any more this year. It was one simple question.
Yeah.
Are you doing a town
I've
hall
already
this year?
done one. I'll do plenty
Are you doing
more.
any more this year? It was a simple question.
You're always invited.
Okay, sweet. We'll look
And
out
by
for
the
an
way,
actual invitation
I
for the next
voted for gay marriage twice.
What does that have to
It was an Ulta. Okay, thank you. He just asked her a question. And she's like, I do them all the time. Yeah, I'm just wondering if you're doing more. I've done them. Yeah, but are you doing more? Yeah, I'm doing more. Okay, thank you. And by the way, I support the gays. All right, Nancy Mace.
So I'm just saying, it has everything to do with you.
Do you think everything about me has to do with gay marriage?
I do,
That's
absolutely.
your first stance when you
Yep.
speak with me?
Absolutely.
There's no other humane
If you want to get in my
conversation you
face
can have
about town
me?
halls, you should have shown
There's
up to
no
one
other
last
humane
year.
thing you can talk about me just saying, oh, I support gay marriage.
Yeah,
That's the
because
only
you're
thing
getting
you
in
have
my
to
face
say.
about a town hall. You
Oh, I
could have
just
gone
asked you
last.
Is he in her face? Just out of curiosity. Do you think this is in your face? There's this thing Republicans are doing lately, like screaming, get out of my face, when people are like 10 feet away. I don't know how far away they are. What, 6 feet? COVID. He's clearly not animated, not agitated, not in her face. This is just a kind person. She's just mad that he asked a question because she doesn't. And by the way, this is why she's not holding town halls, because she's a psycho. She can't handle criticism. None of these folks can.
One simple question from right
Would you
over
like
here
me-
is if you have any plans to have more town halls this year.
I have town
That was
halls
one
every year.
question.
I have over a dozen
Okay.
every year.
Great. That was my entire question. You didn't have to
Yeah.
go into the spiel about
You could
everything
have
else
you could have come to any of them last year.
Okay. And I'm
I had
asking you
over a
about this year,
dozen.
not 2024. But
Where
we're
were you
in
the year
right?
before that?
Okay.
Or the year before that?
It was a simple
Oh,
question. I
because you
asked
know
if
what?
have
Because you
any more that
people
you're
on the
going to
left
this year
are
or not.
crazy.
So
Who's crazy right now? Just you people on the left. This gentleman is being very polite, not very confrontational. I think one person here sounds crazy. And it's not him. I know that the Republicans here will be like, well, but he's gay, so therefore crazy. No, he's fine. Nice outfit he put together, too. I really enjoyed that outfit. Nancy Mace is crazy. If you can't respond to a constituent who asks if you're doing more town halls without losing your shit and then filming it. By the way, she filmed this. She filmed this and posted it to show like, oh, these crazy leftists. What is crazy about this?
Oh,
You're absolutely fucking crazy.
I'm absolutely fucking crazy.
You are, and get out of my face.
You're insane.
Goodbye.
You're insane.
Fuck you.
You're gonna fuck me. You're
Yep,
gonna be voted
bye.
out so fast this year. I
I'm
can't
not.
wait for you to fucking
I'm not.
go into
I won
the
by
dirt.
so much.
You're a disgrace to this state. That's what you are. You're a disgrace. I asked you a simple question, and you just to go on this tirade and tell me "fuck you."
Yeah, fuck you.
Disgusting.
Get out of my face.
Fuck you. How about
Get out of my
that?
face.
You're nasty.
Try it again.
She's 20 feet away and she's still saying, "Get out of my face." This lady has absolutely lost it. And let me just say this to Nancy Mace, or for Nancy Mace. She just got out of an incredibly disgusting and abusive relationship. Her ex-fiance was a complete and total dirtbag. He was sharing intimate photos of her with his friends. He was mentally and physically abusive, and she's gone through a lot. So I'm giving her, like, I understand that right now she's in a fragile place, and maybe just like the sight of a man triggers some PTSD. I'll give her that. But if that's what you're dealing with, maybe you need to step away from politics for a minute. Maybe don't run for governor. Because if you can't handle somebody asking you a question like this, you might not be suited for office.
What's your name? What's your
You're a
name?
nasty bitch. That's
What's
my
your
name.
name?
You say fuck me?
Yep, I
That's
sure
the
did.
first thing you're gonna say to me is fuck me for
Absolutely.
asking you a
Get the
question?
fuck out of my face.
Fuck you.
Now.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. You couldn't take me on, baby. Stay the fuck away from me.
That's weird that she posted that. I thought it was so weird that at the end of that, she's like, this is going to be great. Now, it goes about how you think. Like, if you look in the comments, it's just going to be homophobia. He didn't simply ask a question. He obviously followed her around, harassing her. I don't know. She was being harassed by a twat. She has every right to defend herself. I don't know. I don't know. Like, everybody here, like, defending. Yeah, she was being threatened, you piece of shit. By who? This is crazy. It's crazy to me to look through here and just see people defending her. He was harassing her. What? I'm just confused where this harassment is. I didn't see the harassment that she's talking about. Rory says, once Trump is done, they will vote for a dog. I'll take a dog. I'll take a dog over that. Where are we at? Did I get that one? All right. Sorry, a lot of you guys are a lot of you are asking about how Trump's selling off America. I'll get that in a minute. Joan says, sent a donation, said, because Ashley McDonald said you don't deserve it. Take that, Ashley McDonald. Thank you, Jen, as well. Moderator Jen, you want to do some announcements while I get a drink?
Sure. It always trips me out when, like, someone with the name Jen. I mean, it's the most common name the year I was born, but it's still, like...
Is it really?
Every time the year I was born. My mom was super original.
73?
Right. Yeah. 69, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, I figured you'd appreciate that with your childish.
I forgot about that. I forgot Nancy Mace is the same person who wrote, like, hate messages on her own driveway. I forgot about that. I forgot she did that.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot. I'll find it while you're doing it.
Anyways. All right. So before I was on earlier, I mentioned that the trolls would show up, and it looks like they're here. Hi, trolls.
Hi, guys.
How are you? Hope you had a happy zombie Jesus day. Hope everything was fun. I hope you got everything you were hoping for from the Easter Bunny. If you look in our top left-hand corner, you see our gift goal. This is our show. This is our job. As much as you don't think so and you don't like it, we are crowdfunded. So how we keep the lights on, we do Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats. All go towards knocking out that gift goal. We do the show Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. Pacific time to 1. So we've got about 2 hours left of the show. So before the end of the show, if we could knock out the rest of the balance of that goal, that would be amazing. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub and use Jeff Bezos tonight. Oh, wow. She put that on her driveway?
Yeah. So it was like all politicians are bastards. There was some other stuff, and she put up this big post. And then they looked at her handwriting and, like, one of the main things, like the way that she does her A's and then her I with the upside down U. The graffiti artist just happened to use the exact same A's and I's. Yeah, she's just she's also the person who claimed that like there was a trans person in the bathroom with Lauren Boebert and they freaked out, and it turns out there wasn't. It was just like made up. There was never a trans person in the bathroom. Or maybe they said it was a man in the bathroom. I can't remember what it was. Like inside the halls of Congress. Like she's been caught lying a million times. She lies all the time.
Yeah. Or it was. Are we sure that's not the deep state who was trying to frame her? I mean, that's possible too. Anyways, if you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, please do so. You can just hit the regular subscribe. If you want to become a member to our channel, we've got 4 different memberships for that. If you're on YouTube, please like the stream with the little heart. That helps out. We also post content on a regular basis on YouTube, so if you guys could go engage with it, like, comment, share, whatever you could, that would be awesome. Let's see. Why are so many lesbians still attracted to Dwayne Johnson?
I don't know.
Because Rock beats scissors.
Stupid. Sexist, maybe. I don't know. Something. Thank you, Jed. All right, moving on. Sorry for you guys that were in your feed. Sorry about that. One more thing. I posted this video the other day about the Tesla Hangout. We can play. I'll show it without sound because isn't there a way to make this full screen? I feel like maybe not. This was like the Tesla Hangout, and I just wanted to show the comment section because it's brutal. Your choice of vehicle is so wildly hated that you have to host a meet in a secluded place just to feel good about your bad decisions. Nice pride rally. Cars for people who use the hotel chair. No stronger community. Have any of these people ever met boomer Corvette owners? Got some kissing there. Hope you all brought your super glue. Cuck truck, Porsche Jeep, JDMs, exotics. These appliances are just a fad. I'm pretty sure the classic VW community is stronger and higher quality. How many Sieg House thrown this time? 75% of those will be traded in or sold within a year or repossessed. There are so many cars. The community is a million times stronger. Yeah, there's like 18 people there. Is this the Pride Parade? GM off-road community. How do you know which Tesla truck is yours when you park it? So you all pulled up to show off the same car. Wow, so awesome. Anyways, I just thought they're getting absolutely dusted in their own comment section, which I always appreciate. All right. Here we go. This was cool. So I haven't talked about this. I probably won't talk a ton about it. This is the story of Austin Metaf. Cue the look, it's going to get gross in here for a second because we got a bunch of Nazis here. But I forget this guy's name. He's a white nationalist who went down to the school where Austin Metaf was a student. He's part of the Protect White People rally, and he went down there to defend Austin Metaf. And then Austin Metcalf's dad got on the phone and said this.
This country is wrong. Why can't you stand that and say with that? Maybe you can. Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in a
Thanks, Benny.
individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, I'm not trying to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk. My son, let me finish. I give you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir.
What a fucking piece of shit. His dad, by the way, has come out. He said this isn't racially motivated. They're trying to turn this into a race war. That's how Tex got blocked finally, by the way. I don't know if any of you remember. That's how Tex got blocked, is because of the comments specifically about this. They are trying to create a race war. This is a person who hates black people and is trying to turn this into a race issue. I've read. I'm not going to get into it. I don't think there's any evidence that this really had anything to do with race. He is speaking to the father who just lost a son. And I'm sure that the last thing on earth that this father wants to do is confront a dumb, tiny-dicked white nationalist who is using his son's name and appearance to fundraise and further proliferate a race war. And this guy he doesn't even have the respect to stay quiet long enough for the dad to get out his point. He says that's called white guilt. He says that it's a severe problem in America. Look, we have white nationalists in the White House. Don't think for 1 second that they're not trying to do an ethno-state. That's why they're targeting specific immigrants. They want people that look like this little bitch. And how come all these white nationalists are all 5'2"? That's the other question. Why are they all such smarmy little bitches?
Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir.
You're going to cause more death with your weakness, sir. That's what he said to the father who just lost a child. You will cause more deaths with your weakness, sir. Not a peep from this administration about this, by the way. Not a peep about this guy. He'll call white nationalists very fine people. He'll talk about every bit of crime. We're not going to talk about this guy. That's the father of who just lost his son, who now has to a white son, by the way, who now has to fight not only his own feelings, not only a trial that's going to be coming up, not only dealing with the feelings of losing his son, but now he also has to fight against these people to try and make sure this doesn't turn into a race war. We got a racism problem here.
You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
You are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn your son's killer and the culture that caused it.
Hey, Jeff.
That's the problem. You've been submitted.
Hold on, hey, Jeff.
You've been submitted. Now he's claiming victory. This 5'2" bitch-made bitch. You've been submitted. But they all just want to be kings. They all want to go back to the South. They all want to have slaves because they're so goddamn mediocre that this is the only way they can get attention.
You've been submitted.
I'll handle it from here.
You've been submitted, sir.
You're not gonna make
It's crazy. It's crazy that this is where we're at. They want a race war so badly. All right. Now, to the title. You guys are mad. Yeah, I am mad, Plan B. I am mad. I don't know if you're talking to me. I'm mad. I'm really mad about that. I get mad sometimes. All right. Here's what the title is. Trump selling off America. This is a Mother Jones article. We now have the filings from Trump's inaugural committee, who raised $250 million. I think Biden's committee raised about $10 million. Much of it is from donors who are seeking, and in many cases, have already received valuable favors from this administration of the famously transactional president. I'm just going to show you a few examples of people who gave money to Donald Trump and then got benefits. The largest reported donor at $5 million was Pilgrim's Pride. They are a poultry company that's owned by a Brazilian meat conglomerate, JBS. The firm has faced substantial criticism for its business practices. Mother Jones recently reported on the plight of Haitian refugees working at a JBS beef processing facility in Greeley, Colorado, which a union has faulted for a dangerously fast factory line. Those workers now face deportation, but JBS was also facing litigation because their factory line, in order to, in their opinion, be more efficient, was dangerous. JBS has faced various legal problems in the United States. A company arm agreed in 2020 to pay more than $250 million to resolve Justice Department allegations that it violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The White House announced in February that it was suspending enforcement of that law. They can't remove the law. They can just say, these guys paid me money, so we're just going to go ahead and not enforce that law. Meat processors like JBS's Pilgrim Pride, the journal noted, also benefit from a rule announced by Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary, that extends a waiver allowing pork and poultry facilities to maintain higher production line speeds. Not only are we not going to investigate this anymore, but we're also going to let you get back to what you were doing. We're going to let you get back to those unsafe conditions. People were dying. People were losing arms. Like you can go look this up. Go look up Pilgrim's Pride on YouTube, and you'll see factory workers losing arms. And many times they would hire illegal workers, so then they didn't have to pay out benefits. So people would lose their arm. They're like, oh, sorry. One of them was like a 14-year-old kid who no longer has an arm. The inaugural committee also received large donations from cryptocurrencies, including $5 million from Ripple, $2 million from Robinhood, $1 million from Coinbase and its founder, according to the Journal. The SEC dropped a lawsuit against Coinbase after they gave $1 million. And earlier this month, Pam Bondi said the Justice Department would disband a unit dedicated to investing fraud in the crypto industry. I've played you videos of CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla is beyond words. He made a career out of exposing scammers in the cryptocurrency community. He is responsible for bringing down multiple scams where people, some of them got their money back. And now Trump's SEC says we're not going to do this anymore. We're not even going to investigate anymore. Thanks for the $9 million. Appreciate you. Journal also reported that the inaugural fund received millions of dollars in donations from wealthy Trump backers who Trump subsequently nominated for ambassador jobs. Trump announced the nomination of Warren Stevens as ambassador to the UK on December 2nd, and the filings show Stevens' $4 million donation was received on the same day. He bought that. He bought that seat. The report notes Jared Isaacman, we covered him on Friday, a billionaire who Trump picked to run NASA, gave $2 million to the committee. Isaacman is also a big investor in Elon Musk's SpaceX. Openly taking bribes and shutting down investigations. By the way, if you like crypto, this isn't a win for you. If you're somebody who's invested in cryptocurrency, I'm not, because it's a Ponzi scheme and you guys should figure out a way to get out of it. But if you are, what Trump is doing is allowing the people who scam you to scam you. And he's saying, I'm not going to investigate them. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about cryptocurrency. He gives only fucks about the people who give him millions of dollars. And those people will fuck you anytime they get an opportunity. I forget the name of the coin, but we just had a coin that was a top 20 coin that dropped 90% overnight. They absolutely unloaded because they see the end is near. They knew that their time was coming, so they unloaded their coin and made millions and millions of dollars, while everyday Americans, probably many of you who are invested, lost all your value in that cryptocurrency. I can't remember the name of it. Does anybody remember what it is? Anybody that's in here? I don't remember. The guy's fuming about his micro penis. All right. There's part of what Trump's doing to sell out this country. How much time do we have left? It's 11:30. Let's get into this. I want to get into these ICE raids and Senator Van Hollen. One thing that Senator Van Hollen has made people maybe more aware of is the fact that, how do I get that over there? Is the fact that the Trump administration is paying El Salvador to do its dirty work. They're paying El Salvador to take people that they wrongfully detain and imprisoning them for life, by the way. These are life sentences when people go to El Salvador. People who have not been convicted of a crime are getting life sentences, which is a wild thing to say. Like, even if you want to take everything Abrego Garcia did, everything he's accused of, and you say, let's just say he's guilty of all of that, that wouldn't result in a life sentence here in the United States. That's why you send him to El Salvador, because then you can just throw him in prison for life, and he's being paid. This is 11 minutes, but this was Van Hollen's interview with Meet the Press. I think is that Sunday mornings? There's a lot of information that I think some people on the right are not aware of. But the scariest thing about all of this is how Trump is allowing private entities to do the dirty work of the government so that he can't be held accountable for it. He's using entities outside of our jurisdiction to literally disappear people. And you guys are just sitting back like, this is so cool. This is awesome. Here's Senator Van Hollen.
Now is Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator Van Hollen, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Kristen, good to be with you.
It's wonderful to have you. I know you've had a long several days, so we really appreciate your being here in person. You just returned from El Salvador, as I just laid out, to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. You were rebuffed multiple times from entering the prison where he was initially being held. Secot. He has, as you said, been moved since then to a different facility. Did you accomplish what you set out to on this trip?
I did. I had two missions. One was to ask the government of El Salvador to not be complicit in this illegal scheme with the Trump administration and to release him. I made that request to the vice president. They denied that request. My other major purpose was to just see Abrego Garcia, to see if he's alive. Nobody has heard from him since he was disappeared. He tried to make a phone call from the Baltimore Detention Center after he was illegally abducted, but he couldn't do that. So my purpose...
Oh, I checked that coin. It was Mantra. That was the coin that lost 90%. Mantra, M-A-N-T-R-A.
...was to meet with him, to be able to tell his wife, Jennifer, and his family that he was alive. And despite all the circumstances, he said that his biggest worry was about his family.
Well, it was an emotional news conference with his wife standing there with you. You know, while you were in El Salvador, the White House was counter-programming, effectively releasing information about Mr. Abrego Garcia's background, including a police report suggesting he's a member of MS-13, details about a restraining order from his wife, who ultimately dropped the matter, and a police report in which an officer said he suspected Mr. Abrego Garcia may have been involved in human trafficking. Now, he's never been charged with a crime, but is his past complicating the broader argument that you are trying to make here about due process?
I would just say all of those, don't engage in that. If you're somebody who's debating this, it does not matter. The fact that Abrego Garcia has accusations do not matter. The ruling from the Supreme Court, and what we're worried about here is due process. We're worried about people being allowed to be disappeared and put in with life imprisonment with no due process. That's what we're concerned about. So when people bring this up, I would spend 0 minutes defending Abrego Garcia, the human. You don't know him. None of us know him. It's not worth the time. And the only reason that they're even bringing it up is because the only thing they don't want to talk about is the fact that they're not allowing for due process. That's the only thing we should talk about. And if you're having this debate with somebody, I would just recommend that be the only thing you'd be willing to talk about. I also need to say happy birthday, Charles. 46th birthday. Happy birthday to Charles. W. Charles in the chat. And everybody make sure we tell Charles, our good friend, happy birthday.
Well, what Donald Trump is trying to do is change the subject. Let's make no bones about that, right? This subject is that the Trump administration is ignoring a Supreme Court order 9-0 to facilitate his return because they admitted in court, the Trump administration, that he'd been wrongfully detained. Now, what I have said is Donald Trump and his administration need to put up or shut up in court. Instead of litigating this through social media, here's what the judge in the court case said, and I want to read it to be precise. On April 16th, she said that the Trump administration had presented no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or to any terrorist activity, end quote. So if you have evidence, take it to the court. That's where we litigate these things. And otherwise, just shut up on social media.
You know, the other thing that we witnessed at the White House this week, Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, who is a Maryland woman who was murdered by an undocumented immigrant, you're very familiar with this, was at the White House. And she did speak from the White House briefing room. I want to play you a little bit of what she had to say and get your reaction on the other side. Take a look.
To have a senator from Maryland who didn't...
This is sick. Honestly, I think this is sick. And I have no criticisms for the mother of somebody who lost a child. And I do not expect a rational or measured response from somebody who lost a child. It's sick that they brought this lady in front of cameras to do this. Absolutely sick. This administration is sick. They use humans in their suffering as pawns consistently. They do this all the time. This is fucking sick. They're using her to say, this is why we can't do due process. We don't have to follow the Constitution because she lost her daughter. Her daughter's killer was given due process. And this mother is saying we should not give due process to anybody. We should just not have court cases. We should just accuse people and then throw them in prison for life. It's sick that this administration put this woman up here. And again, I'm not going to criticize somebody who just lost their child. I'm not. I don't think that you're going to be rational. If I lost my child, I think I would certainly be incredibly irrational. It does put really paints a really good picture of the rationality that Austin Metcalf's father has decided to react in. But I'm not going to hammer this woman because she's in a situation that I don't know if I would act rationally. However, I think it's sick that they're using her as a tool to justify deporting somebody who's never been convicted of anything.
Didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do?
They don't. They have less. That person has less rights than you. That's why they're in prison. This wouldn't have happened to you. It didn't. This person has less rights than your daughter's killer. Your daughter's killer has more rights than this person. This person didn't kill anybody. Again, I understand that she's frustrated, and I understand that this happens. People see what happens to their child, and it turns them perhaps racist. They choose to be racist. They choose to hate all immigrants. And again, I could see how that fear might creep into your mind. I could see how that type of irrationality could creep into your mind. But this person has rights. The person who killed your daughter has more rights than this person. That's why this is sick. They knew what she was going to say. They used her. They used her so that they could hide their own crimes. That's gross.
Or my daughter.
What is your response to Mrs. Morin?
My heart goes out to the Morin family. They experienced an unspeakable tragedy in the murder of their daughter. And I said at the time that my heart goes out to the Morin family. And I'm very glad that the killer of Rachel has been convicted in a court of law. That is how we hold guilty people accountable. The courts of law are also where people get to have their due process, so we don't unfairly punish people who don't have criminal records. And so my view is you can crack down and hold guilty people accountable and also respect the due process rights of everybody who is in court. And I'm not sure.
And I think that's to me where I feel like we're so fucked up. So fucked up. Those of you who are defending this, you've just taken the bait. You've taken the rage bait. It doesn't matter what you think of the person. Due process matters. Due process is something that's guaranteed to every person, not every citizen. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that he has due process. And you guys are in here arguing. And the only reason you're arguing it is because Trump is in trouble. And you just defend things. Just imagine it's your mother. And your mother, like some of these stories we shared earlier, your mother gets picked up. She doesn't have documentation. She gets thrown in a jail for 10 days. She's treated poorly. She doesn't get food. She catches pneumonia and she dies. You would be outraged. And you know what would be crazy? Is that if this happened to your mom and then she died in prison, these same people that you're in here that are on your side arguing with you would argue that that's just the cost of doing business. That it's okay that your mom was denied due process. She died. They would not give a single solitary fuck if this was your family. It is an absolute sickness, this MAGA cultism. It is an absolute mental disorder. You guys are advocating for the mistreatment, abuse, violent acts to be perpetrated on people without due process simply because you think they entered here illegally. And I bet a lot of you went to church yesterday and talked about praising God. What would have happened if this was Jesus and Mary showed up during this time? They would have been deported. You guys would have deported Jesus. You would have deported his parents. The whole story of the birth of Jesus goes to show the people who claim that they are good Christian people, the people who claim they are following God, seeing somebody in a time of need, somebody who looks different than them, and saying, no, you can sleep with the animals instead. Oh, you're pregnant? Oh, you might give birth? Go sleep with the animals. You shouldn't even be here anyways. That's the story of the birth of Jesus. The story of Easter that we just covered is Jesus saying, hey, here's my life, 33 years. I did 33 years. I did it perfectly. I've given you a perfect example to follow. Now I'm going to die. And all of you who have sinned, I suffered in the Garden of Gethsemane. I bled from every single pore. I felt every bit of pain that you feel. I've suffered for every one of your sins. I gave you the template. I suffered for your sins. Now you're saved. Jesus, you think Jesus would be saying what you're saying? You think Jesus would be like, well, shouldn't have been here. Shouldn't have been here then. Shouldn't have been here. Yeah, put him in prison forever. I mean, honest to God, how is this the party of the Christians? You guys you're out here like, oh, we need to put Jesus back in school. Maybe. I don't know, fucking maybe. Maybe we do need to teach the Bible in school. Maybe we got to teach you Christians a thing or two about love, about compassion, about how if you're rich, you're not going to heaven, about how you should sell everything to help your neighbor. Do you read about the Good Samaritan? Didn't you read about that? Any of you guys read about the sex worker who came to Jesus and he's like, it's cool. You're cool. These guys can't judge you. They're not allowed to judge you. They're all fucked up too. It's cool. Go, sin no more. Oh, we don't have enough food? Let's all we have is 3 loaves of bread and 3 fishes. That's fine. Give it to me. Give it to me and we'll share with everybody. What fucking lesson did you learn? What book are you reading? Where is your humanity? I do not understand for the life of me any of this. Why do you hate immigrants at this level? Why do you hate at this level? Nothing Abrego Garcia has done warrant him being imprisoned forever. And you're cool with it. Yeah, he should be there. This is totally cool. That's why we call it a cult. What your loyalties are, Trump first, Jesus second. Maybe there's some other ones in between there. But every fucking one of you chooses Trump over Jesus every goddamn day. The amount of like atrocities you're willing to just overlook. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, fuck the Palestinians. Fuck them. Fuck the innocent Americans who were thrown into jail for 10 hours, 10 days. Yeah, it's all right. Fuck them. They shouldn't have looked like an immigrant. They should have had their documentation on hand. Ironically, this is what happened in Germany. Like in Germany, you know who was cheerleading the genocide of the Jews? At the very least, the removing Jewish people from their country? That was the Christians. It was the rich people and it was the Christians. That's who Jesus aligned himself with. The rich, who I've already covered earlier. Did I say Jesus? Hitler. Hitler aligned himself with. I think I said Jesus. Who'd Trump align himself with? The rich and the Christians. Yippee! And then together, the rich, the Christians, and Hitler started going after immigrants. And now we have the rich the Christians and Trump going after immigrants. Where's your humanity? Where is it? Show me the part of the scripture that you're taking here. Or are you those types of Christians who say, like, oh, we only like the parts of the book that allow us to talk about gay people? We only care about the part of the book that says you can't have gay sex. Or is that the type of Christian you are? Because you're not the you're not the 10 Commandments Christian. Thou shalt not kill. Fuck it. Thou shalt not kill unless. Thou shalt not lie unless. Thou shalt not covet unless. Let's go through the 10 Commandments. Let's just look at the foreign policy or the policies of this president, and let's compare them to the 10 Commandments. I'm going to guess that I can show that this administration has broken every commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. We can skip that. It is what it is. Thou shalt not steal. We do any stealing here? Eminent domain? No. Honor your father and mother. Shall not bear false witness. Whoops. Keep the Sabbath day holy. I think that's what they meant when Trump went on that tirade yesterday about everybody he hates. That was keeping the Sabbath day holy. Thou shalt not kill. Whoops. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not have other gods before me. Trump's clearly ahead. Thou shalt not murder. Shalt not make idols. Thou shalt not give false testimony. ICE is lying. ICE is literally making up stories to deport people. Yeah. He was involved in a murder investigation. Deport him. I don't hate Americans, but I do have a problem with Christian MAGA. I have a problem with Christian MAGA. And why do you say things like, why do you hate Americans? Why can't you take criticism? Maybe the reason that I have a problem with America is that some of us are like privileged little bitches. If you criticize me, then you don't love America. If you criticize Donald Trump, then you don't love America. America's a melting pot. I like diversity. I love it. I think when I moved to a more diverse place, it was better. Diverse. All the best places in America are diverse. All the best cities to live in are diverse. All the best institutions were formed through diversity. Virtually every bit of progress we've made in this country has come through diversity. You guys are just average, below average. And I think that that's a difficult thing for you to sit with, is that you've been given every opportunity to be great, and you're not. And so you blame immigrants, and you blame lefties, and you blame gay people, and you blame trans people. You never looking in the mirror. That's my real problem. None of you ever look in the mirror. But mostly I have a problem with your cruelty. Unabashed cruelty. Every one of you has God in your profile. God first, bullshit. It's Trump first, and you fucking know it. You all know it's Trump first. And when was the last time you put on a Jesus hat? Oh, no, Jesus hat. It's a Trump hat. We blame illegal immigrants, not immigrants. Yeah, either way. Jesus was an illegal immigrant. You would have thrown Jesus in jail. That's just the truth. Look at your policies. You would have thrown Jesus in jail. And by the way, you would have rejected him. Why do we got to have a white person as the savior of the world? Or why can't we have a white person as savior of the world? Huh? How come? I mean, you guys all still think Jesus is white. Go look at your pictures on your wall. Jesus is a white guy. You are so soft that you guys lie to yourselves every day about what Jesus looks like. You can't stomach. Honestly, think about this. You go into your parents' house or your friend's house, and they have a picture of Jesus, and Jesus isn't white on the wall. You'd be like, oh, these fucking woke libs, man. You have to ruin everything. Jesus wasn't white. Why the fuck is Jesus white on your walls? How come all your pictures of Jesus are a white guy? Where the fuck did he come from? Nobody mentioned that? Jesus was just like a white dude and nobody mentioned it in the Bible? They're like, hey, yeah, there's a guy. He was weird. He just, for some reason, he was like the one white dude. I mean, your whole life is a lie. Everything about that you claim that you love is not true. You're hateful. And you've allowed your religion to be bastardized in a way that turns you into hateful bigots. That's my main problem. Let's get back to Van Hollen here.
Sure why Abrego Garcia's rights should be denied based on an awful murder that he had absolutely nothing to do with.
Let me ask you about the broader optics of this trip. You actually posted your meeting on social media after it took place. The president of El Salvador also...
Sorry, real quick. Thanks, Byron. Byron said, what's up, Jay? Thanks for all you do. You are now part of my daily news routine. I appreciate all the work you put in to keep us informed. Don't know if you know or read anything about Senate HR 1526. I haven't heard anyone talking about it. It's passed. If passed, it's the way Trump can bypass the federal courts and have more power to do more fascism. Sorry for the long message. Fuck text. Fuck fascism. That's everyone 1980 in the chat. I think if that's the same Senate bill, I think it's the one that Mike Johnson talked about. I think we talked about it on Friday. I'll double check after the live to make sure that's the right one. But I'm pretty sure that's the one we talked about on Friday.
Also posted one on social media trying to mock the moment. He said, quote, Kilmar Abrego Garcia miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador. Now, you said...
This is fucking insane. If you haven't seen this, stick around. This is fucking insane.
These drinks were staged, essentially brought over by waiters who were ordered to do so by the El Salvadoran government. Do you think you walked into a trap here set up by the president of El Salvador?
Absolutely not. They had no intention of letting me meet with Abrego Garcia until they felt the pressure. They felt the pressure from people saying, why are you, complicit in this illegal scheme? Why are you denying his wife, his lawyer, or anybody the opportunity to speak with him? So my mission was to be able to say that he is at least alive.
Hey, Howdy said, I totally agree with you. I'm Christian and all of this is killing me. Kristen says, MAGA's hate supersedes their love for God and country. That's why they're throwing fits in your chat. Yeah, they don't like this. And Penny, I don't know if I got you for the dollar train. I appreciate you.
You're right. It's the lengths that both, the El Salvadorian president, Bukele, and Donald Trump will go to deceive people are boundless, right? In this case, they did order the waiters, the government people, to bring these two glasses that, appear to be margaritas. I have no idea. We didn't.
Listen, we should have known. Who puts a cherry on a margarita? One, it's not a margarita glass. Two, who puts a cherry? You don't put a cherry on a margarita. El Salvador knows better than that. How dare they fake? If they're going to fake margaritas, at least make them look like margaritas.
Touch them. And they tried to manipulate it to make it look like Mr. Abrego Garcia's margarita had been drunk. In other words, the liquid was lower. But they screwed.
Crazy. You can see here, the liquid's lower. And then right here, there's like a little chunk taken out to make it look like he was drinking margaritas. Bukele even tweeted something like, oh, man, it must be so bad. Look at him in his nice clothes having coffee and cocktails. Oh, it must be so bad here in El Salvador. They just staged this whole thing.
Screwed up in their scheme, because if you look at the rims of the glasses, I don't know if it was salt or sugar, but there's no gap in them. So nobody touched them.
I thought there was a gap. It looked to me like they tried to put a lip mark. I disagree with him, but one of us is right, one's wrong.
Margaritas. They want to pretend that this is some sort of tropical paradise when he was in one of the most notorious prisons in the world.
You think it was pressure? Was that the key reason, you think, why the government ultimately, as you're about to leave El Salvador, brought him to you?
Yes, absolutely. I think the images of soldiers blocking us from trying to see Mr. Abrego Garcia and the press conferences we had with local media, where I pointed out that El Salvador is actually violating international law by preventing Mr. Abrego Garcia from having any communication with anybody.
The White House says Mr.
Thanks, Melissa.
Abrego Garcia is never coming back, Senator. How far are you willing to go to bring him back to the United States?
Well, the Supreme Court has said they must facilitate his return, and they have the option of holding Trump administration lawyers in contempt for refusing to do that. I know that the embassy in El Salvador has not been instructed by the administration to lift a finger in accordance with the court order. Now, Attorney General Bondi did say the United States would send an airplane down. So when I met with the vice president of El Salvador, I said, of course, we're not asking you to smuggle Abrego Garcia back to the United States. Just open the prison, let him walk out, and then Attorney General Bondi said, we'll send a plane. So There are also pressures we can put on the government of El Salvador, including through, people deciding not to invest in El Salvador, Americans not traveling to El Salvador. So I think there are other pressure points here.
You mention the courts. Given the fact that the Supreme Court has ordered the administration to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia, Mr. Abrego Garcia remains in El Salvador. Do you think that the Trump...
By the way, for all these keep track of the MAG in the chat. When you say he's not coming back, Trump's administration is going to lose this. And then what are you guys going to say? You really think that you think that the Supreme Court's going to go? If they do, I mean, I guess I'll eat my shoe. I'll eat my words. El Salvador is fucked. This is the problem. This is what happens when you get in bed with Donald Trump, and you guys are kind of proof of it. But when you get in bed with Donald Trump, you got to be all in, and that means he's gonna ask you to do some criminal things for him. And El Salvador now is in a position where they desperately need tourism. The whole reason that Bukele was locking up all these gang members, and a lot of them not gang members, the whole reason was because people didn't want to come to El Salvador because they didn't feel it was safe. And now you're going to have all these countries saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. You guys just do whatever Trump says? I'm not going to El Salvador. Who the fuck's going to go to El Salvador now? There's not enough MAGA in the world to sustain their economy. This is a bad move by El Salvador. It's a bad move from Bukele. That's why he relented here. He knows he was violating international law, and so he had to allow the prisoner to be seen. I mean, I guess maybe Bukele's just going to go down with Trump, be like, all right, I'm with Trump, because the way this is going, the whole world is turning against Trump. The whole world's turning against us. And I don't know that I trust Trump's temperament. I don't know that Trump wouldn't go use the military all over the world. I don't know that Trump wouldn't turn this into a world war. His ego is that strong. This is a person who's 80 and has in 80 years has never admitted fault ever. Never admitted they were wrong. Never admitted fault. That's who you guys support, by the way. There's not a human being on earth who makes it 80 years without admitting they did something wrong. There's a person who said, like, do you ask Jesus for forgiveness? He's like, no, I've never needed to. I never needed to ask Jesus for forgiveness. If I said that, you guys would lose your goddamn mind. If Joe Biden said that, you guys would fucking lose it. But you don't care. And that's the whole point. Like, again, nobody that's in a cult ever knows that they're in a cult. But if you treat somebody like they're perfect, like they can do no wrong, you're probably in a cult. And that person is probably the cult leader. That is a true sign. When you literally, everything they do that's wrong, you're just like, no, they're not wrong. Every time we ask you guys to tell us like one thing you dislike with Trump, they're like, oh, I don't like all the words he says. Oh, okay.
Administration is ignoring the courts. Do you think that the country is currently in a constitutional crisis?
Oh, yes, we are. They're very much flouting the courts as we speak. As the courts have said, facilitating his return means something more than doing nothing. And they are doing nothing. Yes, they're absolutely in violation of the court orders as we speak.
If this is a constitutional crisis, as you say, what should the response be from Democrats? What recourse do you have?
Well, we will keep pushing back. Again, the courts can impose sanctions on the Trump administration. The Trump administration is going to pay the government of El Salvador $15 million to take these prisoners, including the illegally abducted Abrego Garcia. I can tell you when they make that request to the Congress, and because those monies have to be appropriated, I don't think American taxpayers are going to want to spend one penny going to El Salvador to continue to hold somebody illegally and in violation of the United States Constitution.
Let me ask you about the reaction from within.
I think the funds come from DHS. I'm not sure. I think the funds that they're paying for this come from DHS, though. I can't remember. I'll have to double check that. If somebody wants to see where Trump's getting the funds to pay for this, I think it's from the DHS budget.
the Democratic Party. While some Democrats support you, others say this is not the issue that Democrats should be focused on. Governor Gavin Newsom of California calling Mr. Abrego Garcia's case, quote, the distraction of the day. He argues Democrats are playing right into the hands of President Trump, an issue he wants to be focused on. How do you respond to Governor Newsom?
I don't think it's ever wrong to stand up for the Constitution. And this is not about one man. If you deny the constitutional rights of one man, you threaten the constitutional rights for everybody. I think Americans are tired of elected officials or politicians who are all finger to the wind, what's blowing this way, what's blowing that way. And anybody who can't stand up for the Constitution and the right of due process doesn't deserve to lead.
All right, Senator Chris Van Hollen, thank you so much.
I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this to you, MAGA, in the chat. Like, I don't know when you're going to get it. It does not matter that he's accused of being a member of MS-13. It does not matter if he came here illegally. It does not fucking matter. The courts have ruled he is entitled to due process. The Supreme Court has ruled he is entitled to due process. Throw out all of this. You are openly saying that the role of the Supreme Court should not be followed. You are in open revolt. You are not patriots. You are not proud Americans. You are not constitutionalists. You are people who believe that if you don't like what someone else did, they can be thrown in prison for life, regardless of the rule of law. I've been concerned about this for a while. One of my favorite fighters ever. I'm a big fan of the UFC. One of my favorite fighters, until Stipe, he was probably considered the greatest heavyweight, Cain Velasquez. Great fighter, by all records, also a great person. Cain Velasquez had I believe it was a niece who was sexually abused by somebody, and Cain Velasquez found out about it. And Cain Velasquez chased down, I believe, what he thought was the right person, and that person's uncle, I don't remember the relationship, chased down two people in a car, and he fired a gun into that car. Nobody died, but he fired a weapon, and one of those people was not involved in what had happened to his niece. And I, as a big fan of Cain Velasquez, and at the time I was, that's when I was a professional sports bettor. At the time, I remember just seeing the people saying there was free Cain, hashtag free Cain everywhere. And that made me concerned. And I think we have a real problem in this country where people don't understand how important the Justice Department or the justice system is. And how important it is that everybody be given due process. Because once you start picking and choosing who deserves due process based on what you already think about the person, it no longer matters and it no longer exists. My concern is not for Abrego Garcia. I honestly, like, that's not the story here. The story here is that an accusation alone can lead to you being thrown in prison for life. Abrego Garcia has accusations against him from his own wife of being an abuser. I think that's disqualifying. You guys voted for a guy for president who has the same accusation. You guys, the Secretary of Defense, who you guys all defend blindly, same accusation. Should they be thrown? Should if Biden would have said, "I'm taking Pete Hegseth and I'm taking Donald Trump and I am throwing them in prison for life," I would have argued against that. The problem here that I just wish we could get on the same page. I can't believe we can't. I'm trying to speak as nicely as possible, and I really do. Like, I'm speaking just to the conservatives. I just want to get on the same page here. Why can't we get on the same page? Why do you insist on justifying this administration ignoring the Supreme Court? Why do you insist on tearing down the Constitution to support him? If the Supreme Court rules you do something, you have to fucking do it. Otherwise, our Constitution means nothing. It's over. As soon as we allow people to openly defy the Supreme Court with no consequences, Our Constitution no longer holds power. Do you not understand that? I understand you voted for him. I understand you want to deport immigrants. I understand this is why you voted for him. Nobody is saying Trump can't deport people. Nobody is saying any of that. We're simply saying that we believed that he was not granted due process. The Supreme Court agreed, and Trump said, I don't give a fuck. How is it that you're standing behind this? Why is it that every one of you is like, MS-13, the court said? Why aren't any of you talking about the fact that the fucking Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that he had to facilitate the return, and that he and Stephen Miller stood in front of you and lied and said the Supreme Court ruled in our favor? They lied right to your face. And they are openly in defiance of the Supreme Court. I don't give a fuck what Abrego Garcia is accused of. You have to have due process. We are locking up American citizens. I read you a story of an American citizen on vacation in my home state who was thrown in jail for 10 days despite being an American citizen because they suspected him of being here illegally because he didn't carry around his documentation, which I never do. And that would never happen to me because skin color. It's 2 hours from me. If I went down to Border Patrol and I walked around Border Patrol and they said, give me your identification, and I said no, they would not throw me in jail. I would not be detained for 10 days. Nothing would happen. That's all we're asking, guys. We're not asking you to agree with us politically. I think you guys are so afraid for Trump to take a loss because you've been conditioned that he can't. This guy has never admitted he was wrong, ever. And his ego is so big that he is saying, sorry, Supreme Court, I matter more. And you guys are going along with it. Do you want to live in an oligarchy? That's the real question. And Trump's almost dead, by the way. Let's be clear about that. Donald Trump is about to die. Within the next 10 years, Trump is going to be dead. Almost certainly. If he lives longer than that, kudos to him. He's probably going to die soon. And he's handing over power to psychos, to white nationalists, to Christian nationalists, to tech oligarchs who want you to live in a police state. They want to privatize the entire country. Now, if you're a conservative, stick around, because there is a plan. There is absolutely a plan to fundamentally undo democracy and give rule to billionaires. Just let them rule everything. We can defeat you, by the way. We will defeat you. You can't defeat us. Bitch, you won one election with the popular vote. You ran 3 times. 2 of the times you lost the popular vote. 1 time you won the popular vote. And you ran against a fossil. It's crazy to think you're untouchable. You barely won the election against basically a fossil. That's what happened. You had Kamala Harris trotting out Joe Biden's record and Joe Biden's plan, and you won. Congratulations. You beat us at our worst. But that's why you guys are so cool with democracy being undone, because I think you know that too. I think you guys at least have long enough memories that you know it didn't take much to beat Trump. And you don't ever want to be wrong again. So you're just like, yeah, we'll just hand it over. We'll just ignore democracy. We'll just ignore the Constitution because it's our side. That's my message. That's my frustration. Why the fuck can't we get you to care that Trump is in open defiance of the Supreme Court? His lawyers are now being held in contempt. Every court in the land is saying this is illegal, and we can't get you to join us. We can't get you to just for 1 second to get on board. Like, hey, do we want to go back? Like, I know that our country was founded on this idea that we're not an oligarchy, that we don't want to be ruled by a monarchy, but maybe let's just do it anyways because Trump said so. That's where you guys are at this point. You're at well, Trump said so, so here's how Fox News did it. Fox News is doing what you're doing. Again, Van Hollen in there We watched the video. Van Hollen has said multiple times, I am not defending Abrego Garcia. I'm not vouching for Abrego Garcia. I'm simply saying that this administration is not following court orders. And watch what Fox does. Fox is doing what you're doing. Fox is giving you the position that you're supposed to take. How many more times does somebody say, I'm not defending Abrego Garcia, and you guys still say, why are you defending Abrego Garcia? We're not. But look at Fox. Watch what Fox does.
And all of a sudden, I got word.
All right, Senator Chris Van Hollen giving a play-by-play of his trip to El Salvador. We'll continue to monitor what he has to say, see if you hear from the wife of Kilmar Abrego Garcia as well, and bring that to you. But he said a lot in that short amount of time that we joined Chris Van Hollen in his press conference. I want to break it down now with former federal prosecutor and former national coordinator for the Child Exploitation Prevention and Interdiction Network, Francie Hakes, joins us now. Francie, thanks for being here. I have several questions I want to get with you to today.
That's why the Supreme Court works for the commander-in-chief. What the fuck are you talking about, you goddamn moron? The fuck are you talking about? I mean, I think we're just left with you guys are fucking morons. I don't know what to tell you. No, they don't. That 3 branches of government, co-equal branches of government, they don't work for each other. That's what happens with a king. I think you're just dumb. I think maybe you guys are just dumb. I don't know.
But I just want to get your reaction from what you just heard from Senator Van Hollen.
Well, appalling, revolting come to mind, Will. I mean, talk about a grandstander. These crocodile tears, the emotion, his conversation about his risk, making himself seem like a superhero on behalf of the gang-banging, wife-beating member of MS-13 and illegal.
Gangbanging, no evidence of that. Wife beating affidavit, but Trump has that same accusation. So does Pete Hegseth. We don't call him a wife beater. Right? Do you see how they do this? See how they'll just like, if there's an accusation that, I mean, we just did this with you guys for 4 years. Every time we told you Trump was convicted of a crime, no, it's just civil. No, it was just the justice system. Yeah, they're just all weaponized against him. But when it's somebody else, you guys are cool. You'll accuse anybody of any crime without a conviction, but not Donald Trump. Even when Trump gets convicted, and you're like, no, it's still not.
Alien is absolutely shocking.
And all of a sudden,
yeah. Right to it. Again, he didn't say anything about that. Nobody's defending Abrego Garcia, but this is the reaction, because the reality is they can't tell you the truth. They can't tell you that this guy is ignoring the Supreme Court. They can't tell you that what Trump is doing is unconstitutional, because you'll change the channel. You'll go to Newsmax. Trump is legitimately, like, this administration is legitimately just lying on people's paperwork so that they can lock them up. Here's Ryan Grimm to explain.
Extremely sadistic thing that the Trump administration is doing now. And what they're doing is they're going through and finding like minor violations that somebody here on a visa has committed many years ago, and revoking their visa and then backdating that revocation, ordering them removed from the country, and then going in and arresting them and detaining them, throwing them into an ICE detention center for then the alleged crime of overstaying their visa. But of course, they only overstayed their visa because they didn't know that their visa had been canceled. If they wanted to deport these people, they could just send them a note and say, hey, we are revoking your visa. You need to leave the country. And most of these people, because they're here on these either student visas or work visas, these are law-abiding types of folks that they would just leave the country. They don't want to go to a detention center.
Darnell says, keep up the work. Thanks, Darnell.
So they're spending enormous amounts of federal money in order to throw people in prison for no reason. And so there's a case of an Indonesian man who's on a visa in Minnesota working in a hospital. He, many years ago, 3-4 years ago or something, got arrested or got a citation for some graffiti situation. I don't know the exact details of it. He ended up having to pay $100 in restitution. You know, that happens when, you know, you defaced somebody's porch or something, and you had to pay to like get it painted over. $100 is not a lot of money for restitution, suggesting that whatever this graffiti was, it wasn't very much at all. But it's enough of a violation that if you're here on a student visa or a work visa, they can revoke your visa. But they could have told him. Instead, they went into the hospital where he worked, arrested him, and have thrown him in a detention center. He has an 8-month-old special needs child and an American citizen wife. Why did they have to do that? Like, why did they do any of that? You can read more about his.
Yeah, I like all the internet lawyers. Do you think the Supreme Court just didn't know that he got his due process? Is that what happened? Is this what you guys think? Honest to God, like, how fucking stupid are you? You think that you guys know something the Supreme Court doesn't? You think that the Supreme Court saw the deportation order and they don't, and they're just like, oh, we're just gonna ignore it. Nobody brought it to their attention? Or do you think maybe something else happened? Or do you think possibly that there was a deportation order and that deportation order was stayed? Do you think there's a part of the story that you're not hearing rather than the Supreme Court? Trump's lawyers just went before the Supreme Court, and the ACLU went before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was just like, hey, oh yeah, there was no deportation order. Sorry. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to think that they didn't see this case? How fucking stupid do you think they are? And if you think they're that stupid, then you got to look at Trump, because he put some of those motherfuckers on the Supreme Court. Why is he putting such stupid people on the Supreme Court? Honest to God, you guys think that's what happened? You think you know? Well, Benny Johnson told me. Well, Tim Pool told me. You think you know better than the Supreme Court? You think the Supreme Court missed a detail and they just forgot to check with you? God damn, like, for those, I did 5 seconds of research and I saw the deportation order. Keep researching. Google it now. Chat GPT it now. Chat GPT or Google. Did Abrego Garcia have legal protection to stay in the country? Just Google it. You can get these fucking answers yourself, but you don't want to. You want to stop at the deportation order. This is called confirmation bias. It is the unfortunate outcome of a society that has been gifted so much that we aren't curious anymore. You lack curiosity. You lack inquisitiveness. None of you want to find the right answer. You want to stop your research the moment it confirms your bias. I know, but the Supreme Court, they don't even know what they're talking about. All these judges are dumb, but me, I know. I know because Benny Johnson told me.
This case over at our Twitter feed,
mouth breathers,
at Drop Site. You can find more about them, I'm sure, elsewhere. But it's just one more case of the cruelty being the point. And it feels like this is aimed at sending a message to anybody around the world that if you come here, you might get locked up for no reason, effectively for no reason, and to deter people then.
Hey, Donald, shut the fuck up. Sorry, I'm not cool.
From even coming here. And by the way, have you been to any of our hospitals lately? If they kick out all the foreign workers, our hospitals will all collapse. And frankly, we'll deserve it.
I mean, you guys are just celebrating the downfall of America. Like, our credit rating is trashed. Our allies don't like us anymore. Our trade partners are looking for other people to go into trade with. This is the highest spending presidency in the history of the country. We're about to increase our debt $1.9 trillion. The tariffs we're not making money off the tariffs because Trump keeps dropping them. China's just going to find new people. This guy's getting his ass kicked at every corner, and you guys, you're just too prideful to see it. You're just like him. This is good, guys. This is good. All of this is good. All these things are happening that appear bad, but they're good. What's the outcome? What's the outcome that winds up being good? I'll show you what the outcome is, because the outcome's pretty fucking obvious here.
We've got new subscribers.
Remember the other day we were talking about, and Republicans, you might have missed this, but Trump in his speech to Congress was talking about the United States getting an Iron Dome, and now there were stories coming out that Palantir and Dural and Elon Musk are working together to make the Iron Dome. That's because of a company called Palantir. Palantir is a company that literally has their hands in everything. They see all of our secrets. They can watch you every step of no matter what you're doing. This private company, Palantir, they know what you're doing at all times. It's not just our government. It's a private entity. And the people that fund Palantir, like Peter Thiel, I guess Curtis Yarvin's more of a thought leader. Elon, Mark Andreessen, all of them are on record with a stated goal to end democracy and bring in an oligarchy, a technocracy. They've all openly said it, and those are the people that are giving Trump money. And those are the people that are saying Palantir needs to go in there and run our government. We need to privatize our government. On an afternoon of February 15th, 2011, Jamie Zapata, a 32-year-old special agent with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, was shot to death by members of a drug cartel as he drove along a 4-lane highway in Mexico. Zapata's partner, 38-year-old Victor Avila, who survived the attack, later said that as many as 15 gunmen opened fire with automatic rifles, even though Zapata had identified himself as a diplomat, and the armored SUV in which the pair was riding bore license plates identifying it as an official vehicle. Back in Washington, senior officials said, "What can we do to make an immediate impact against the cartels to send a message?" To conduct what became known as Operation Fallen Hero, investigators turned to a little-known Silicon Valley software company called Palantir Technologies. Federal agents had amassed a trove of reporting on the drug cartels, their members, their funding mechanisms, and smuggling routes. They had dossiers, reports from informants, surveillance images, intercepted electronic communications, footage from drone aircraft. But investigators lacked a way to assemble and share all that intelligence with one another and to quickly find leads buried in the mountains of information. Law enforcement officers across the United States, Mexico, South America confiscated 467 kilograms of cocaine, 64 pounds of amphetamines, 282 weapons, and arrested 676 people, including the cartel member suspected of killing Zapata, all because Palantir helped identify connections among key individuals and organizations. Sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, cool. Private enterprise helped our government find the people who committed a crime. Palantir has sold its software to the CIA, the Military Special Command. In fact, the CIA helped fund Palantir. So now that this is like the feel-good story. Yay, Palantir. This is the story that they tell to make themselves like, oh, we're protecting America. Then you find out that they sold it to the CIA. And you're like, uh-oh. Now the CIA it's easier for the CIA to see everything we're doing. They sold it to the Military Special Command, the Marine Corps, which use it to help track down terrorists. The FBI, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the National Counterterrorism Center, and the Department of Homeland Security are all customers. The director of National Security Agency has said Palantir software could help the agency see into cyberspace to defend against hackers and spies attempting to breach government computer networks. I guess they missed it when the Doge boys got in there. The board that's set up to oversee federal stimulus spending uses the software to spot fraud. The LAPD uses Palantir. So does the NYPD, whose intelligence and counterterrorism unit rivals the sophistication of the FBI and the CIA. So that's where Palantir came from. Obviously, like we said, it was funded by a bunch of people in tech, and that's not the scary part. The scary part is when you start reading about or start watching the people who are on the board with that Palantir and who the board of Palantir takes their ideas from. This is Curtis Yarvin. This is an interview he did. Curtis Yarvin has been cited by Mark Andreessen, by Peter Thiel, by Elon Musk as a thought leader, somewhat of a prophet, and kind of like their guru when it comes to what their plan is. This is, I'm trying to remember what podcast this is called. This is called the Unheard podcast. And this is Curtis Yarvin arguing why the United States should abandon democracy and become a monarchy. And he explains how they're going to do it. And it sounds an awful lot like what we're doing right now.
Right. I mean the strange thing is, though, it feels like we're kind of close to this. It's not such an outlandish suggestion. A lot of people feel like we are already in a situation where Silicon Valley is a de facto monarch in a
that's
literally deciding the rules of our society.
Yes, and but the thing is, they sort of feel that way because they're pressing against it, and they're pressing. The real question is sort of how much kind of power does this world or whatever this emerging culture is.
You see what he said? A lot of people already feel like that Silicon Valley is a monarchy, and he said, yeah, but they only feel that way because they're fighting against it. They're not just allowing Silicon Valley to be the monarchy; they're fighting against it.
How much power does it deserve to have over Washington, D.C.? Napoleon had this great line where he said that every government is safe in which the most competent people are in power. So far in the last...
How else would I... Gorilla balls. If I want you to see the thoughts of Curtis Yarvin, how else would I do that without showing you the thoughts of Curtis Yarvin? This was crazy. This is my problem with all of you Republicans. You are so desperate not to let anything else inside of your head. You're discrediting a source. Oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to believe some guy on a podcast. That's who we're talking about. What I'm showing you right now is I'm telling you what Curtis Yarvin thinks. And this is Curtis Yarvin speaking. And you're like, well, if it's on a podcast, it must not really be what he thinks. I mean, like that's the problem we have. You guys no matter what information you're presented with, it's just like a wall. Oh, no, I'm not listening because podcast. It's him. This is him. This is Curtis Yarvin. That's him. These are his words. I'm using him. This is the best source I could possibly give you. If I was reading his words, you'd be like, oh, it's out of context. So I'm just showing you his words.
Last few years, the people in charge of Washington, let's see, virology has given us COVID-19. Arguably, if you believe the lab leak hypothesis, which you do, the State Department is trying to start World War III. What else could go wrong, right? This system is like deeply on the rails, and like, San Francisco is full of tents. Like, is this right? How is this supposed to work, right? Like there's sort of all of these things where you just walk around and you're just like, this is obviously a mess.
All right, so this is how cult leaders operate. And Curtis Yarvin, look at his hair. He's a cult leader. He reminds me of Keith Raniere. But this is what they do. And like once you've been in a cult, you leave a cult, you understand the messaging. The question he was asked again was, a lot of people already think this is what you're doing. And so what does he do? He goes off on this long run of like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. He just named a bunch of things that are bad or that he perceives as bad. He's not answering the question yet. What he's doing is he's poisoning the well, or he's setting himself up to look like a hero. The reason he doesn't want to answer the question directly, he wants to make a case for why he's a monarch. That's what he's doing right now. So when you see other people do the same thing, like we watched all day this morning when Pete Hegseth was asked about leaking the Signal chat, and instead of answering that question, he just rattles off a bunch of shit that will upset you. And when Fox News is showing an interview of Van Hollen explaining what happened in El Salvador, they cut the interview and instead they just rattle off a list of things that are wrong with Abrego Garcia. This is a tactic used to get you to forget about the question. It gets you thinking about what he's saying instead of what the question was. And the question is, a lot of people already think you guys have a monarchy because of because you're basically surveilling everything that we do. And through Palantir, you also are surveilling us in ways that we don't understand. So he just listed off like, oh, well, homelessness is a real problem. This is if somebody doesn't answer questions and just rattles that off, they're trying to get you to forget the question because they don't really have a good answer for the question.
And then you go down, to Apple or Google, and you see these, beautifully refined machines that they produce, and you're like, the most capable organizations and leaders and structures in our society are basically making toys and selling ads, whereas the structures that basically are responsible for actually governing, which is, I'm not a libertarian, which is a huge responsibility, are just like hopelessly and ridiculously incompetent.
So now what he says is the smartest people are actually in tech, just so you know. Who could I be thinking of? But the smartest people are in tech, and the dumbest people run the country. What he's talking about is technological advancement. That's just called capitalism. The reason that all those people are in tech and not in government is because they want money and power, and the government doesn't give them the money and power that they think. They recognize that, that money and power actually comes from our control over the technology.
Making just these enormous mistakes.
So it basically is a plan to put Silicon Valley formally in charge instead of just partially in charge of all of our lives. Surrender, and it's Zuckerberg and Musk are our new monarchs, and we just need to lean into it.
Well, if you look at what happened in 1933, right, you're basically...
Doesn't answer it again. Now he's going to go to 1933. Let's talk about what happened in 1933. He's selling you on this idea that Musk and these other tech billionaires should be monarchs. By the way, these are the people that paid to be in Trump's cabinet. And that's why Elon Musk has unfettered access to our government right now. That's why he's taking that data. You know that freedom spike That data we talked about last week that the National Labor Relations Board came out and they're like, hey, they're downloading the data. We don't know why. Why are they downloading this data when they told us they only had read-only access? It's because if they get all of this information, they then have more control. They understand how all this works. So you're shoving Palantir into every aspect of our government. So Palantir can see everything the government is doing. And now the people in Palantir and now the Doge boys, they know more about the federal government than the people that work in the federal government because they don't have like the checks and balances. They don't have the stops. Like if you get put on one board, you can't see the stuff from another board. But if you are Doge, if you are Palantir, you can see everything now. And so you can just force your way in. And that's exactly what they did. When people were warning of like this Doge doing a government takeover, they're talking about what he's talking about right here. They're saying, we're smarter than the government. You should all just believe us. Let us do our thing. And what did Trump do? He wrote a fucking executive order that said, hey, I'm going to give all these people access and we're not going to vet them. I'm writing a special exemption for these people that they get access, they get top secret security access or the security access that they need without us vetting them. And then they do nothing when these people break systems, when they bypass systems, when they download the data from these systems. This isn't hyperbole. They're doing, whether they win or not, whether or not Curtis Yarvin runs his own country, Elon Musk runs his own country, that's still up for debate. It's up for debate whether or not they're going to be successful in their end goal. What's not up for debate is that they're doing it. Trump has given them the opportunity to try. Yeah, go ahead, guys. Get in there. Do your thing. It's not too late. I don't want to play doomsday. I don't think these people are nearly as intelligent as they think that they are. But they are being given the opportunity. Trump is absolutely selling us to these people. He did it through donations. He's giving Elon Musk every defense contract he wants. Elon Musk is the biggest individual defense contractor in the country. And he has access to everybody else's bids and everybody else's contracts. He can see everything all his competitors are doing. And he has the benefit of being able to see that all with a bird's eye view, and nobody else has that benefit. Elon Musk is the most powerful person in America because of the data that he holds. He's more powerful than Trump because he knows more than Trump. Trump doesn't understand any of this shit. They are handing over control to these people, or at least the ability to try and take control.
Seeing something relatively close to that with the kind of, and you sort of preview of that with Woodrow Wilson, you basically saw this kind of different culture. Like the idea that like professors would be setting government policy was ridiculous 100 years ago. Or 120 years ago, it was ridiculous. 100 years ago, it was a novelty. By the 30s, it had become an established fact, and now no one questions it.
All right. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I think it was like, let me get the timestamp here. Actually, I think I can just pull up a different link that I had it timestamped. Oh, that's not it. Here it is. That one's next.
A small number of people.
So, same interview. Now here you're going to have Curtis Yarvin selling us legitimately. We're now being asked the question, like, why should we be a monarchy? Why should we abandon democracy and become a monarchy? And here's Curtis Yarvin, again, saying the same stuff Andreessen's saying the same stuff Peter Thiel's saying the same stuff that Elon Musk is saying. Whether you believe it or not, if you believe Trump's given them that power or not, whatever. But this is what they want to do. They've all talked about this openly on, as that whoever that was that got upset we were showing a podcast pointed out. They do it on podcasts. They're not hiding this. This isn't a secret plan. They're saying it openly. They are trying to sell you guys on a monarchy. I've seen a couple of you be like, good, this is what I want. Yeah, I know. You guys are cucks. Like we just didn't know we had so many cucks in the MAGA movement. We didn't know. Sorry about that.
Call it the cathedral. And all of those things, I think a lot of people would be nodding their heads at. It's the final step you take, in which you say the solution to it is to go in a kind of Chinese direction, where we say goodbye to even the partial democracy that we have, and instead just vote in or choose some kind of technology-enabled Silicon Valley overlord and just accept that we are serfs in this new regime. That bit, I think most people would resile from. Tell me why I'm wrong and why we should follow you to the ends of this plan.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, like, look at the plan before Yarvin answers there. He says, like, it appears you're trying to do China. Yep. What are they doing? Build up manufacturing. You have Eric Trump saying, like, hey, I think we should get a cut of this. I think the United States government should get a cut of any sort of advancements. And they're saying, like, hey, you know what? We'll just replace the government with this monarchy or this oligarchy. And now, excuse me, we already do technology. But the problem that we have here in America is that we have to pay people too goddamn much. And other people have power too. And so they get in the way of us running everything. And they get in the way of us tech nerds. They get in the way of us running the whole show. And they're jealous of China. They see the top-down authoritarian control of China, and they're jealous, and they want that to be them. And they feel like China has this unfair advantage because China gets to, these technology companies in China get to tell the citizenry, like, kind of what to do. And in America, we don't get to do that. Now, China, the reason that China gets to do that is because they share in the profits of all these advances. So ironically, what you're talking about is if they're going to, best case scenario, if these guys get to be monarchs, they're going to run it like China and you'll get some benefits, but your freedom of speech is fucked. Your freedom to own your own weapons, that's gone. Your freedom to criticize your government, see you later. That's what they want. They want to replicate all the things about China that you hate so that they can win the technology battle.
I think you're wrong because I think that I think that there is a technique for getting over that reaction. And I think that
swear to God, he's not saying you're wrong, we don't want to do this. He's saying you're wrong for your reaction. And there's a technique that I could teach you so that you don't care as much anymore. You'll get over it. You'll get over this idea that we're trying to take over.
Technique for getting over that reaction is to admit that in a way, Hobbes spoke of this. He's like, when people talk about freedom, they're really talking about power. They're not talking about what he called, the desolate freedom of the wild ass. They're talking about the right to matter. And so the thing is that basically once this right to matter has become essentially symbolic, sort of casting it aside in a way is this ironic gesture of freedom. And one of the things
gesture, they speak about freedom like it's just, it's silly that people ever wanted freedom. We never had freedom. We'll never have freedom. Just stop talking about freedom.
Populations have gotten way, way better at over the last 100 years. Have they gotten more virtuous, more responsible? No. Have they gotten more violent? No, they've gotten much less violent, which is sort of an obstacle to violent ways of taking over the state. People are just not capable of violence. So if you're not into violence, that's great. But if you want to take over the state, that means that violence is not available to solve that problem. You have to do it in a beautiful way. I happen to prefer that because I've never been in a fist fight, but
yeah, no shit.
Many people would say otherwise. So people are less violent. That makes it harder to do a regime change. But what people are is they're more sophisticated and they're more ironic and they're basically sort of better at thinking their way out of traps. They're better at sort of doing these kind of nonlinear creative exercises in thinking where they're like, oh, I'm sort of being herded in this direction by like my natural fear. And I have this natural fear of not mattering and not having any power and not being relevant. And I associate not mattering and not, the famous line of Charles I, he's like, a subject and a sovereign are clear different things. And
clearly, a subject and a sovereign are two very different things. They want subjects. They do not want sovereigns. They do not want independent thinkers. They want workers. They want people to do what they're told. And look at the MAGA in here just doing what they're told. You guys didn't know who Curtis Yarvin was like 15 minutes ago, but his proximity to Trump forces you to blindly defend him. I want to show you now, like this, that was, obviously that's Curtis Yarvin, and so you guys can poo-poo that all you want and say maybe he doesn't matter, maybe he does, but this is a whistleblower from Palantir. This is somebody who last week came out, and he's going to tell you now what Palantir is doing. You can pretend that like you could say Curtis Yarvin, like that's all wishful thinking, but you're never going to accomplish that. Not in the United States of America, not with freedom-loving MAGAs and freedom-loving Donald Trumps out there. Donald Trump would never allow a monarchy Well, here's the Palantir whistleblower to tell you just like how successful they've already been at stripping you of your rights.
It's one thing to criticize your former employer. It's taboo to do that. But to criticize an employer that also owns extremely lethal technologies and surveillance technologies that are highly invasive and used in war zones is something else entirely.
It's 2025. We're all kind of used to
Sorry for using the MAGA voice. I didn't mean to make y'all come.
government surveillance. The idea that we're all being watched all the time and don't own our own personal data has become normalized. We're also used to the military spending vast amounts of our money on just a few jobs.
Sorry, Brianna, I have to do this now. Said I heard something about you being ready for a gangbang or something. What time is it and where? I'll be on the way fast as fuck. Now please whisper you're doing good, baby. All right, let me stop so this doesn't get taken down. I'm not whispering it. That's how I got taken down last time.
Giant defense contractors. But one tech company wants to change.
Ironically, this guy does look like Curtis Yarvin. I just want it out there that I recognize I made fun of Curtis Yarvin. He's probably also never been in a fist fight.
Both of those things.
And become the ultimate military contractor and the ultimate arbiter of all of our data.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with.
This is the guy, by the way, that Donald Trump and all you guys are listening. This is the guy that is responsible for tracking all of you. That's watching every time you beat off to trans porn, like many of you do. He knows all about it. Alex Karp, and he loves it. This is your guy. How come all the people on your side, how come they're all psychos with crazy hair and fake tans? It's like Trump's got a type. You guys have a type. You like people with fake tans and hair that makes no goddamn sense.
The very best in the world, and when it's necessary to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Check out Palantir shares.
And our job is to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. Well, I just heard Pete Hegseth say that I'm the enemy, that liberals are the enemy, that the news media is the enemy. That makes me nervous.
Surging 22% after the company cited a boom in demand for its AI software from the U.S. government.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am.
Palantir, a tech company based here in Denver, claims they can revolutionize government systems with their data analysis software, newly powered by artificial intelligence.
They've been hired by the Department of Defense, the FBI, local police departments, and even the IRS and Wendy's to take in the information those organizations collect even more information, and use that data to draw conclusions.
It can be used to completely reconfigure organizations' ontology, its reality, what systems matter, what information matters, what processes matter, how they are.
By the way, there are multiple people on the record saying that they're, and some in this chat saying that that Palantir's AI actually is really fucking shitty. The thing that Palantir has that nobody else does is access to extreme capital. They are funded by the who's who of Silicon Valley, and they keep getting injections of capital. They are over bloated, overhyped, and that's one of the reasons I think they're not going to be as successful as they think. Because once you start hearing these people speak, once you learn about what they're doing, you realize all these tech geniuses aren't really geniuses. They're just salespeople masquerading as geniuses. And the worst thing they could have done is show up and start speaking publicly. Because once you hear them speak publicly, you realize there's virtually nothing there.
Structured, what biases are introduced at each of those stages.
We talked.
Oh yeah, Palantir is from a Tolkien reference, by the way. Yeah, it's like some stone or something. I can't remember what it is. It's a Tolkien reference. These guys are all fucking nerds, but it is from a Tolkien book.
To a former Palantir employee, dug into decades of research, and listened to hours of Alex Karp's own words to unwrap the layers of Palantir's carefully cultivated sales pitch, how they capitalize on fear, uncertainty, and unrest.
I don't think in win-lose, I think in domination. This is a company built for bad times. Bad times mean strong finances internally. Bad times are very good for Palantir because we build products that are robust, that are built for danger.
The problem that we have is we're not in bad times. Historically speaking, we're in good times, and they have sold a bunch of red hat morons into believing we're in bad times, that the world is ending, that we desperately needed to make a very radical change. And the reason that they told you is like, oh, things have been the same for a long time, so we need radical change. Well, yeah, like we were getting less violent. We were starting to normalize relations with historical enemies. I thought we were doing a good job with China. We were getting closer to having normalized relations with China. They convince you that things are bad because, like he says, like they don't do well unless there's bad times. So if they convince you about an alien invasion, if they convince you that China's about to go to war with us, if they convince you and they make you scared, then they are allowed to take over. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're telling you that we are in these perilous times when we weren't. And they're scaring you into allowing or into giving them power.
Rewind a little. Palantir's story starts with one of the most effective things a company can have for sales: fear. After the September 11th attacks, the United States government began expanding surveillance both at home and abroad. This was, of course, a boon for the defense industry at large. Simultaneously, the Silicon Valley tech industry was growing fast and making people in a once obscure industry very, very rich, very, very quickly. Like the founders and executives at PayPal, known as the PayPal Mafia. Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn guy, and Peter Thiel. When PayPal was sold, Thiel had millions of dollars burning a hole in his pocket and an idea. PayPal had...
Just a quick reminder about Elon and PayPal there. That's Elon and Peter Thiel. Somehow Elon's hair was restored magically. He was the CEO of PayPal, and he fucked it up so bad, and they were about to go under that they fired him and replaced him with Peter Thiel. Just a reminder that as the CEO of PayPal, he fucking sucked, and he's always fucking sucked at being a CEO.
Dollars burning a hole in his pocket and an idea. PayPal had developed systems for detecting fraud and crimes on the platform. What if they could use similar thinking to analyze the world at large? So Thiel pulled from his network to build out a new company. One of the first hires was Thiel's Stanford Law School roommate, Alex Karp, who'd gone on after Stanford to get a PhD in not business or computer science or engineering, but neoclassical social theory. They named the company...
Oh... He learned about social theory, neoclassical social theory. He learned how to control people with messaging. Oh, he didn't invent a cool product, just like Elon didn't invent a cool product, just like Peter Thiel didn't invent a cool product. They're all just good at social engineering. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Palantir, after the Palantiri from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
In Lord of the Rings, a Palantir stone is a magical object that allows its users to predict the future or to see what's going on in a remote location.
It was originally created by the elves. It was meant to be used for good purposes. It is potentially a very dangerous technology. It's very powerful.
Long have you hunted me?
And who has control of it? A bunch of billionaires with no transparency, and our government, who gives us no transparency. You took the most powerful tool and you put it in the hands of people we already don't trust. Good.
So that's Middle Earth, but what does Palantir do in a regular Earth?
And what we do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based search. So we would look at you, and then we would go out and say, oh, there's lots of different things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior.
Put simpler, they make software that makes it easier for their customers to collect and analyze data, and then act on that analysis with and without AI. By 2013, 10 years after their founding, Palantir's client list included the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Marines, the Air Force, Special Operations Command, and more.
Did your company help to track and kill Osama bin Laden?
You know, we can never. I'll tell you, the closest thing to an answer is when you look at when you open the paper and look in the news about these kind of things, there's a 2/3 chance, depending on the country involved, that somehow my company was involved.
Fundamentally, just want to point out that Osama bin Laden, who I believe was, I want to say he was. I don't remember his nationality. He was killed in Pakistan, and we had 2 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and then we got him in Pakistan. Just a simple reminder that our government lies to us all the fucking time so that they can go to war.
The mission that is pushed to...
Amy Lynn says, who profits from a recession? Exactly, Amy. That's a great point. Who profits right now? Who is looking at a recession and saying we will profit? These guys, because they recognize a couple of things. When you guys are, when the citizenry is afraid, they trust the experts. And in this case, the experts are going to be the tech companies. They will profit. They want a recession. They're cool with a recession because they will profit. And by the way, they're so all their companies are so bloated that they can't compete with China. That's why China can beat ChatGPT for $6 million because it's not bloated VC money.
Employees that were...
Saudi, thank you. He was Saudi. Thank you. I didn't want to say Saudi if I was wrong there, but yeah, he was Saudi. And we fought with him. We fought with Osama bin Laden. We helped Osama bin Laden fight against the Russians. And then we fought against him. We flipped on him because we wanted a specific group of people in charge in Saudi Arabia, and we didn't want him in charge. So then we flipped on him. Then he attacked on 9/11, and then for some reason we went to Iraq, and then we went to Afghanistan, and then of course we found him in Pakistan.
Solving the world's hardest problems and supporting Western institutions. That is the main driver of sort of this militaristic culture that is developed inside of Palantir.
If you do not feel comfortable supporting the legitimate efforts of America and its allies in the context of war, don't join Palantir.
This entire message of like, we are the most lethal, we are the most able to surveil and process large amounts of data.
You have created the system which you call kill chain.
Privately. Publicly, the lawyers have some innocuous
So
something like tech for the amelioration of unwanted blah, blah, blah. Some term we're supposed to.
The way they talk about like murdering people with such callousness is fucking wild to me. I mean, he openly, consistently talks about killing people. This is who you guys want in charge? What happens when he does something you don't like? And you revolt against him. He'll just kill you? That's who you guys want? You guys want these groups of people in charge?
Okay, let's...
for me, it's the kill chain.
Kill chain sounds good.
Kill chain isn't an original term created by Palantir. It's the more general military verbiage for the series of decisions leading from identifying a target to taking their life. Palantir's contract added their software and artificial intelligence to the kill chain.
It's quicker and better and safer and more violent.
It's tech that Juan helped market.
It reduces the distance you have to the problem, but when you're able to take a step back and really see all the narratives and how they were shaped and the actual application of these technologies, your whole world starts falling apart, which is something that, definitely happened to me.
Remember, this is somebody who worked at Palantir and is blowing the whistle on them now.
Juan didn't leave Palantir entirely for ethical reasons. He just got another job. But the reason he eventually started speaking out against Palantir came after watching the Israeli invasion of Gaza following the October 7th attacks. Palantir has contracts with the Israeli Defense Forces. The exact nature of the contracts is opaque, intentionally, but there is evidence to suggest that Palantir's artificial intelligence tech was used for selecting
Thanks, Rory. Said, Jay, thanks for always pushing truth.
Targets in Gaza. CARP doesn't mind the controversy. In fact, it's part of the marketing.
Palantir will even pick up the projects that other companies rejected for political reasons.
We are very comfortable being unpopular.
CARP doesn't think controversy will lose Palantir customers.
Whatever is pissing them off, they're still buying the product.
Wendy's hired Palantir to help with their supply chain. Palantir works with health insurance companies to build AI for denials management to protect revenue.
Do you want Palantir's AI making decisions about what care is covered for you and your loved ones?
They also do business with for-profit hospitals, major investment banks, and even other defense contractors. In 2020,
the concern that I think and what he's highlighting here is that Palantir has all of your data in everything that you do. They have their ability to shape what you do, how you think, where your loyalties are. Like it's stark. It's stark. This is I don't know how else you explain what they're doing other than a psyop, but it's dark. And their stated goal is to have a monarchy. Their stated goal is to be in charge. They want everybody living in a police state. They believe that you completely eliminate crime by living in a police state. I don't know if any of you guys have played like the game Watch Dogs, but like Watch Dogs Legion. Think about that. That is their stated end goal, is they want us all to live in Watch Dogs Legion.
Palantir brought in nearly $2.9 billion in revenue, 55% of which came from government sources, with the vast majority being American. So let's look at their pitch to the American government. Last year, Palantir CTO Shyam Sankar put out a presentation and white paper called The Defense Reformation. He cites The Last Supper, which was a secretive 1993 meeting between defense industry executives and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Over a dozen companies walked in, and only a few walked out. That dinner is often cited as the origin of our consolidated military-industrial complex.
And to me, I think this was the definitive moment that kicked off the financialization of defense. From that point forward, it became all about buybacks and dividends and leverage ratios.
Criticizing.
This is a person who's saying our government, all these private contractors got together and said, how do we take power even more than we have now? They all agreed to work together and not against each other so they could seize power. And then they started buying back their own stock because they realized, oh my God, we pulled it off. Our stock is going to skyrocket. If you look at Palantir stock, which has taken a hit lately, there was that clip earlier of Psycho Pete there saying, we're doing it. This was Palantir stock. And then when you started to see right in here, you start seeing, where was Trump's inauguration? Where is it? As soon as Trump wins, and boom, 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 skyrockets. Because even those people, even people in the know recognize like, oh, he's going to let Palantir do their thing. He's going to give them government contracts. This is them just saying like, we got control. We can't believe this worked, but we came together with all these other people who want control, and we all agreed we'll do it together. And then the stocks skyrocket.
The financialization of the defense industry, calling out stock buybacks, that doesn't sound like a defense executive. That sounds more like the exact argument about the defense industry that we have made before.
I think what's interesting to me about Palantir is how they co-opt the language of revolution.
But Sankar's argument did work on somebody, Uncle Sam. The Defense Innovation Board, an advisory group within the Department of Defense, cited Sankar's presentation multiple times in their 2024 report on why the DoD needs to divert more of their budget to emerging technology. That's giving money to Palantir. There's a reason Palantir just replaced Ford Motors in the S&P 100 in the months after Trump was elected. The Trump administration is an ideal customer for what Palantir is selling. First, there are many former Palantir employees sprinkled across the Trump administration, from inside DOGE to foreign policy advisors to high-level technology appointees. And Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the company, is also heavily invested in President Trump and Vice President Vance. He was a major campaign donor to both. Then, the stated goal of DOGE is to streamline and combine government data, which is exactly what Palantir does.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other.
And obviously, Karp is loving it.
See, and he's saying that so that he can get access. Looking back on that interview with Elon Musk, when he said, like, we're streamlining, what he really meant is and now we know, because he went in and he stole the data, he wants Palantir to have access to all of that. FOD said Jen is the sweetest sweetest-hearted, gentlest angel ever, and Jen sent that message with this response. Jen is not happy with you. All right, go.
Disruption, in the end of the day, exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. There's a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. Like, you know, it's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things and to win.
And what is win?
The fuck's that? He said that a couple months ago. No reaction for nobody from the Trump administration said anything. It was like, we'll just keep giving him more contracts. That's who's in charge right now. Just so we're clear, That's what Elon Musk is hacking into all these departments and giving access to that guy who said people are going to get their heads chopped off.
According to Palantir, this is CTO Shyam Sankar in 2021.
Turning to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
The government's operating system. They want everything to funnel through Palantir. Palantir already has contracts with the IRS, going through taxpayer data to save auditors time by finding the easiest audits to pursue. Now, Wired reports, DOGE will likely hire Palantir to create unified software for the entire IRS, a mega API that would allow anyone with access to view and possibly alter all IRS data in one place. That's all of your financial information. And they have multiple contracts with the Department of Health and Human Services, including nearly $100 million to support HHS's core administrative data and applications, to manage, ingest, and access data securely across business domains. HHS's core responsibility is Medicare and Medicaid. That's control over millions of Americans' health records and their access to healthcare. So what does it mean for one contractor to have all that power, data, and...
Steve said, I don't think he's hacking anything. They're giving him access. No, he did hack. They did. They went in and they shut down the cybersecurity protocols. They went in and they got rid of any protections. They did hack. They were given access and then they hacked. So I think it's both.
And taxpayer money as profit, especially as AI gets involved.
As we kind of increasingly live in a simulated world, we lose touch with reality and the human decisions that matter, and we move closer towards governance by algorithm. Not only made by decisions of automated artificial intelligence systems, which is a problem, but more importantly, subject to decisions made by the people who are influencing these AI systems and creating them in order to fulfill an agenda for whatever their profit-seeking or control-seeking objectives are. And when I see DOGE kind of going into every agency and addressing the IT department first, I see it as an opportunity to try to change reality itself.
But so what? Why am I telling you all of this? Palantir has no problem being seen as Big Brother, as all-powerful, as lethal even.
We're at the brink of using these technologies potentially to run our government, to run our battlefields, and our personal lives. Using artificial intelligence as a sort of panacea solution across our federal departments, and especially when they're, again, wielded by people with a very distinct agenda, puts everyone at risk.
It almost feels like that's been the plan all along. Here's co-founder Peter Thiel in 2010 at Libertopia, a libertarian conference, speaking about tech companies and government.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
And here's Alex Karp in 2009 on civil liberties with regards to Palantir's work.
The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how, it's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used? We allow the enforcement of rules that the government ought to enforce. And by the way, my experience is they want to enforce, or at very least know they need to enforce. And if it's framed in that way, then you can have what is the ultimate Silicon Valley solution.
One co-founder...
The ultimate Silicon Valley solution, by the way, is technocracy. Is that they will control everything. That's their goal. They don't believe in democracy. They think that it's flawed. They think that it's inefficient. That's why when they open up their own little private cities like Prospera, which is in Honduras, on the Roatan Island, that's what they do. They go in and they end democracy. They don't do democracy because they think it's inefficient. And sure, that might work. Like, I guess just trust one person, trust your government. But you guys are the ones that were like, I don't trust the government. That's why we need Trump.
Openly wants to use the power of the tech industry to affect politics. The other wants his company to have oversight over how the government data they're paid to handle is used. And the founders of Palantir will retain control in the company no matter what, through an obscure ownership structure. Their Class F shares grant them 49.99% of voting power, even if they collectively own as little as 6% of the company.
This is similar to the agreement that like Elon Musk has with Tesla. What they've all done is they've all created these agreements where they control the company so they can bring in VC money, and they may not have controlling interests as far as shares go, but they still get to decide the direction. That's because part of their vision for Palantir is that they will run the world. They will run these private countries, private cities, private states. And so they have to maintain controlling interests. This is leverage. They're able to raise money and grow their company and get these government contracts, but they maintain this leverage. They have access to every bit of sensitive data that anybody in our government has access to. They may say they don't, but clearly they do. This is their goal. They don't want democracy anymore. I'm sorry, like if Republicans, if you're tired of your voice being heard and you just want someone making decisions for you, this is the way to go. This is going to do it for you. But I think you're going to be a little bit surprised when they don't share your values. I think you're going to be very surprised when you find out that none of them believe in God, and that they also all believe that God and religion run counter to what they want. That like that's actually going to get in the way. They need you to think like they think. They don't want a separate book to tell you that like, oh, murder's a problem, stealing is a problem. They want you beholden to them. So good luck. You know what? Their private cities, not very religious. That you think you're going to have the ability to think for yourself, to do it, to believe in the things that you want to believe? I don't think so. These are all atheists. The same scum that I am, that same atheist scum that I am. The difference is I'm an atheist because I don't like that people are controlled by religion. They just want a different form. They want a different form of control. They look at it as a competition. I look at it as a way to control people, and I don't like that. I don't like systems like that. You're comparing a competing entity to your religion, and you're like, oh, that's all right. They're on our side. They're not on your side. You think they're going to let you keep your guns? You wish. You fucking wish. You're not going to have any control. You're not going to have any power. You're just going to hope to get you better hope you get a good dictator.
At the start of this journey, I was extremely afraid for the repercussions of this writing, of speaking out, but now I'm like, even more convinced that this is absolutely necessary.
We can't replace our current broken system with an even more broken one. And we can't let the worst people in Silicon Valley become our government.
It's not about whether you're actually at risk for speaking out or not. It's just the idea that somebody's watching you is enough to push people into silence.
That's cute. NRA supports Don. Don supports the NRA. Don's not in charge. He's going to die soon. Listen, these guys know more than Donald Trump. They're all smarter than Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a vehicle. Why is it that you think all these people were liberals until Donald Trump? Why do you think that was? Or at the very least they weren't involved. And how come all of them came, like outside of Elon and Peter Thiel, no, they all waited until Donald Trump won to give him money. They didn't publicly support him until he won. Guys, Donald Trump is being used, and you're being used. They're taking your fear, your anger. They're taking your religious beliefs, your fear that they're going to turn your kids trans, that illegal immigrants are going to steal your jobs and murder your family. They're taking all that fear that you have, all the stuff that you've been fed and all the reasons you hate me and us. They're taking that fear, they're using it, and because they say that they're on your side, you guys are just letting them take advantage. They do not care about you. They don't align with you. They don't agree with you. They just recognize their access to power comes through you guys being so afraid that you'll let anything happen, including a fake government audit. By the way, they were supposed to save $2 trillion in the first year. Then they said it was going to be $1 trillion. Their final number is about $150 billion, and when that's been audited, it's less than half of that. They lied to you about cutting government spending so they could get access to all of this, so they could infiltrate our systems, and so they could set themselves up for their attempted overthrow. And you let them do it because they were doing it in the name of cutting spending and in the name of Donald Trump, and you just ignored every reality that was happening in front of you. You allowed Donald Trump to lie right to your face. He told you this is read-only access. And they told you that because they didn't want you to believe that these folks had access, and maybe they didn't even know. I have this sneaking suspicion that they didn't know. I don't think Pam Bondi is bright enough to figure this out. I don't think Donald Trump's bright enough to figure this shit out. And I don't think they really care, if we're being honest. They used every bit of fear that you have. They used your beliefs. They used your passion, and they used it to take control. And you let them do it because you think they are on your side. They are not on your side. There is nothing about Elon Musk that is on your side. This is a guy who has baby mamas all over the place. This is a guy who doesn't believe in democracy. This is a guy that only believes in a ketamine-addicted drug addict that just his proximity to Trump and his hate of trans people makes you think he's on your side, and he's not. He is not for you. He is against you. This is one of those places where, like, Republicans and Democrats, we're all on the same side right now. None of us really want an oligarchy, and whether we wind up with an oligarchy or not really just depends on us. It really depends on, can we put up enough of a fight, and will the Republicans come along with? Will you guys find a breaking point where you're like, no, we'd rather have democracy? Or are you guys just in the tank? Have you decided you want to try monarchy again? You'd rather do oligarchy? Maybe that's what you've decided, and that's fine. But I don't think all of the Republicans, in fact, I think there's a lot of Republicans that are switching sides. Not switching to say, like, I'm a liberal now, but like off the Trump side. There's MAGA, and then there's the rest of the world right now. And the rest of the world is looking at due process and going, we kind of like due process. And the rest of the world is looking at Ukraine and going, man, Russia invaded Ukraine. That was fucked up. And these guys seem to think it was Ukraine's fault. And most of the world is looking at what's happening in Palestine and saying that's a genocide. So the real question is, how strong are you? Not how strong are we? Because nobody's moving away from MAGA because suddenly they're like, oh, I really like the ideology from the Democrats. You guys have cited it a million times. It's like 21%. There it is, right there. Not happening, 21%. It's not about Democrats. It's literally about MAGA or not MAGA. That's the line you guys have drawn. Because all these other, I'm not a Democrat. All these other countries, they're not Democrats. The conservatives who are sounding the alarm right now, the Republicans who are sounding the alarm, they're not saying I'm going to be a Democrat. You don't see Liz Cheney switching parties. You don't see even Adam Kinzinger switching parties. You don't see Bernie Sanders saying I'm a Democrat now instead of an independent. No, they're not flooding to the Democrats. They're leaving MAGA. They're leaving this ideology. This is an attempted overthrow of the government. This is an attempt to gain power and supersede the United States Constitution. And look, we're in it. This is an attempted fascist takeover, whether you like it or not. And you are either on the side of fascism or you are not. And eventually, it's going to boil down to, like, who's got the most support. Maybe 5 years from now, we're just a fascist country. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe 5 years from now, there's a lot of these people who are in prison. Maybe not. But this isn't really about right or left. It's not about ideologies. It's not about Christian and atheists. It's not about what rights do I think trans people deserve, or what rights do I think, or how much immigration should we allow, or what our trade policies should be. It's getting to the point now where it's fascism, oligarchy, monarchy, authoritarianism, however you want to brand it. But it's Constitution or no Constitution. Are we still going to do this American experiment or not? And we have a scenario right now where you guys are making a choice. You have the United States Constitution being applied, where the Supreme Court is telling the president, using their checks and balances, you can't do that, and the president's saying, fuck you. And that's where we're at. And you have to pick a side. You're either with the authoritarians, you're either with the fascists, or you're not. And I think that there's probably more on this side than the other, and I hope that that's the case. I hope that you guys don't win. And I hope you also understand that if you win, what does that mean for you? Will that mean more money in your pocket? No. It'll mean more money in the pocket of the rich. Is it going to be better jobs, better education? No. What's it really going to mean? Yeah, maybe your kids won't have to learn pronouns. Yeah, maybe your kids won't have to learn like the true history of race in this country. Yeah, maybe the Gulf of Mexico will be called the Gulf of America. Yeah, maybe we'll take over Mexico and Greenland and Canada. But what does that really mean for you, honestly? What benefit will you receive from that? You'll be slightly more comfortable that your children aren't exposed to ideas that you don't like. And that's it. That's truly what you're fighting for right now, is your children's right to live in an ethno-state. Or at least a protected state where ideas that can hurt them. By the way, you give your kids access to good ideas and don't influence them, and watch what happens. Just watch. I've never shared a single bit of ideology with my child. Not once. The only thing my child knows at all is that we try and be kind to people. And when people are different than us or they have different ideas, we're respectful of those ideas. And she goes to a Christian school. She goes to a Christian school where she is told every single day to believe in Jesus, to believe in God. She's told that Jesus died for our sins. I nor my ex have ever talked about our views on religion to her ever. And you know what? She doesn't believe it. She's just left to make her own decision. And she doesn't care who gets married. When she sees when she's scrolling through movies or whatever, and she sees a girl holding hands with a girl, she doesn't care. Doesn't affect her. And when I say, like, do you think you'll marry? Who do you think you'll marry? And she says, some handsome boy. Okay, fine. This idea that like kids are being indoctrinated, it's really like you're afraid of ideas. And if that's your side, and if you're willing to undo the Constitution, and you're willing to go down that road of authoritarianism to protect your children from new ideas, then fine. We're just on different sides. But we're long past this idea that you guys are patriots, that you are constitutionalists, that you are freedom-loving Americans, because you are not. If you choose this side, you are just desperate for a daddy from Palantir and the tech oligarchy. It gets far more weird than this. We're in it. It's happening. They're trying. They're using Donald Trump. They're using MAGA to try and get this agenda pushed forward. It's important that we cover it. I do honestly don't feel super safe covering it, but we are where we are. This is what we're going to be covering for the next couple days. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, for supporting. Like I said, we rely on your donations, and you guys come through every single day. As a reminder, we do have paid subscriptions on YouTube and Twitch as well. Maybe someday we'll be back on TikTok. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Amy Lynn said, Trump spent more than Biden at the same point. That's true. Joe, why did Joe call me a pussy a million times? Jen, who's Joe, and why is he calling me a pussy? Who is that? Jen just sent me this screenshot. Joe's losing his mind. Who is Joe?
He's the guy that
this screenshot, Joe.
He's just an angry little man that his profile picture, he doesn't wear a shirt.
Oh, shirtless Joe Jackson?
I mean, I have here. I can show here. Actually, here. I'll send you his his channel. Hold on. I grabbed it.
Joe's big mad. Is he trying to debate
Oh,
right
yeah.
now?
Well, he got timed up for 24 hours for saying something pretty gross. So I just.
Is Joe trying to debate?
He claims, but we've told him 1,000 times how to do it, and he's just too stupid to figure it out.
Well, hold on.
Look at his profile picture.
Wait, hold on, though. He has a video that says he's the smartest person on here. It has 3 views. We're going to be 4th. Did you know that he was the smartest person on here?
I did not know that.
If I would have known that. Let's see, Joe.
Here's the fact for you. Did you know that you were less likely to get COVID if you smoked than if you didn't smoke?
Come on.
Did you know that? They told you the opposite, didn't they?
Come on, Joe.
Here's the fact for you.
Joe, here's some previews for you. Got a deer. This is kind of cute. Joe took a turn from dogs and deer to Psycho Town. What happened to Joe? He had all these cute little deer.
Looks like the deer are back. Let's go see.
I liked your old channel better, Joe. I liked it when you were just showing pictures of deer, Joe. That's
Joe
adorable.
Joe looks, his account looks like it smells of like PBR
and cigarettes.
Camel.
Yeah, for sure. It was
cigarettes.
Amy Lynn said, because if you smoke, no one will want to be around you. That might be true. People are keeping that 6 foot circumference.
How to do it. And he comes in just about every day and cries just like that. We've told him to DM me on Discord, but he won't be able to chat for 24 hours.
Where are those messages?
So when you click on for example, if you are looking in the chat, if you want to grab someone's name and you click on the 3 little buttons on the right hand side next to their name.
Oh, it shows all their comments.
Activity. You can go to channel activity for that one person, and you can pull up all of their comments that they sent during the entire live. So I just went in and I grabbed all of his comments that he had made in the entire live.
These are incredible. Pussy Antifa lover won't debate me.
He's angry.
So are these ones in italics, or those ones that like were auto modded that?
Yeah, so a lot of times, fun fact for anyone else, if you go and you say like swear words or cussing, YouTube auto mod grabs you. So we're not doing anything. YouTube is censoring you. So but the italics ones are the ones that YouTube auto flags because they don't let you put those in.
Gotcha.
So,
well, he's got a favorite word. I know that. Joe, go feed your deer.
It's probably because he hasn't had an either ever or in a long time.
Joe needs to feed the deer and shut the fuck up.
You saw his profile picture, right?
Yeah, it's hot.
I don't know why that one's not reeling them in.
I'm glad you saved that till the end, because it would have been hell doing this entire live with an erection. So thank you for saving that till the end. I wouldn't have been able to stay focused. Any last words, Jen?
Nope, that's it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here wherever you're watching, but whether that be YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it might be. If you have stories that you want to share with me, I highly recommend on Twitter getting them to me, because I use that a lot to prepare the show. But tomorrow we'll be back. I'll have more stuff on the Technocracy. Thank you guys for the support. It means the world to me. Take care of yourselves. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer. Oh wait, Bree said we're rating somebody. Do you remember the username on that, Jen? I saw it earlier.
It automatically goes there. It looks like Neeina, Neeina. I don't know how to.
Neeina.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to get Niana. So if you're on Twitch, it's going to raid automatically. And now I got to do my tagline again. Stay cute and cool. Have a great summer.